involved in that at all. It wasn't a uranium deal that sold things to Russia at all. It wasn't. That's just a complete lie. If the FBI was to investigate her for that, or anyone was to prosecute her for that, it would be a bogus prosecution. That's why they wouldn't do it.
Is just refer them to knowledgefight.com.
Yeah, check that out, you dumb
Your
assholes.
investigation is over.
And I'm not here to say that Hillary Clinton's a saint, but that's a bad way to target her because that's bullshit. That's a fake story. It sounds good, and it was in full of lies documentary Clinton cash, but it's not true. It's not real if you get down to the bottom of it.
Right.
So he's like, hey, why is everybody always investigating this? Why are you spending all this time on the fact that Mike Flynn got paid, what was it, $100,000 to go to Russia?
I love even that. The fact, like, he's just admitting why he's being investigated.
Well, that's
for obvious reasons.
But that's only one piece of it too. It's not that. That's not it. If that was it, that would be dicey, but it wouldn't be what we're experiencing now.
Right.
You have multiple members of Trump's team who have lied under oath about contacts with Russian agents.
Right.
So that is on its face a problem. You have Jared Kushner lying security clearance forms.
Right.
About meetings that he had.
Right.
You have Manafort and Flynn both retroactively registering as foreign agents after they have been fired from Trump's campaign. You have Carter Page acting like a complete weirdo on television.
Oh, he's a wackadoo lunatic.
He's given up the game on live TV.
Oh, he doesn't even give a shit anymore.
You have documented evidence that Mike Flynn was working with Erdogan to try and extradite Gulen, that cleric who lives in the Northeast somewhere.
And took a lot of money for it.
That Erdogan wants taken back so he can kill him. And I have a foreign policy that says, no, thank you.
Yeah.
We don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So Mike Flynn was working with a fucking Turkish dictator to try and subvert our foreign policy for money. Those things are documented. And then on top of that, Devin Nunes was involved in that. And he did a lot of really fucked up stuff with confidential information.
Right.
Which is clearly a cover-up.
Right.
So, like, to say it's just Mike Flynn went on Russian television and sat next to Putin at a table, that's not really what we're talking about. But
no.
Sell that uranium.
Oh, well, then we're done here.
But she didn't. It's so fucked up. It's a false equivalence based on lies on both sides. Like, he's lying about how bad the fake thing about Clinton is and lying about how benign the actually really bad stuff about Flynn and the rest of them is.
He is treating his viewers like babies. Like, he's literally holding up keys over here.
Yeah.
And just saying, look at the jangly keys. Look at the jangly keys. Lordy, lordy, lordy. All these jangly keys over here.
He constantly yells about, like, people having no memory, and the globalists want... He's actively exploiting or hoping that his audience doesn't have a memory.
Right.
Or doesn't look into things. And if they do, at this point of the show, Alex Jones has a big get for an interview. The guy who's on his show almost every day, Roger Stone.
Who could he have gotten?
Roger Stone.
A big get? Donald Trump's children?
To talk about the fact that Comey got fired, he brings in Roger Stone, someone who was a target of the investigation.
I don't think he has any personal involvement. I think he can maintain his objectivity in this interview.
You think Stone
because
can?
He was. He was a member of multiple administrations.
Sure.
Everybody knows that he's a trustworthy and reliable source.
There's no doubt about that.
He is famed by from sea to burning down to the ground sea.
As a glamour puss?
As an absolutely gorgeous man.
He is a fashion puss, if there ever has been one in our politics, and this is Alex Jones's introduction.
So joining us from the airport, flying to New York to be on the Today Show tomorrow, in 2 days, his big Netflix show,
He is
Get Me Roger Stone, that yours truly is also in, is set to premiere. It's got amazing ratings from the critics that have already seen it.
That can't be true.
So I look forward to seeing that, obviously. Netflix, Get Me Roger Stone, the notorious GOP operative, plays both narrator and villain. So, Get Me Roger Stone. That is coming up in T-minus 48 hours on Netflix. But going to Roger Stone, he's got a Fox News crew and a bunch of other crews following him around at the airport, giving us the first exclusive today on exactly what is breaking down and happening with Comey. Roger, let's go over from your sources.
So, I mean, I can't reiterate this enough. It's a bad look to have, like, in the same way that Trump had Comey fired, and then the next day he was meeting with the foreign minister of Russia
privately,
and
would not allow United States press in there.
And Sergei Kislyak.
Yeah,
Kislyak,
the guy, the one guy who is at the center of
all of this,
at the center.
Yeah,
he is the guy,
and he was not announced that he was going to be a part of those meetings. So actually, Trump secretly met with the same guy secretly with.
Yeah,
and yeah, they did not allow press into the Oval Office, and
they did not allow United States press into the Oval Office.
Bingo.
They allowed Russian press inside the Oval Office.
I know that this is a little bit speculative, but I don't see any reason to think that the Oval Office isn't bugged now. Like, I have no idea, like, why wouldn't they?
I mean, fake deference?
Yeah, it's.
I mean, if he finds a bug, which, God damn it, if he ever could.
Yeah, no way.
He could be fucking peeing into a microphone, and he'd still be like, "This is a funny plant." Like, you would have to think that all of this stuff is being recorded so that future historians will be able to write on their stone tablets.
Sure.
that our democracy ended because stupid people hate black people.
Yeah, probably. But at the point I was trying to make is that in the same way that is a bad look, you fire the guy who's investigating your ties to Russia and then secretly meet with the guy they're investigating shit about and the foreign minister, in the same way that's a bad look, Alex Jones having an interview with the guy who was under investigation about the firing of the guy doing the investigating, in the real world, that's a bad look. On InfoWars, it doesn't matter.
It's not a good one.
In the real world, that's fucked up. There's no way. There's no way that's okay. So anyway,
everything is just fucked up.
Yeah. So Roger Stone, he's got his priorities straight. I'll tell you that much. Here's how he decides to open his interview.
Roger, let's go over from your sources.
Well, some interesting contretemps today, Alex. Politico published a story which claimed that I had persuaded the president to fire James Comey. CNN picked that story up from Politico. I am not the source of that story, nor have I claimed anything of the kind, because as I have said on this show many times, no one talks Donald Trump into anything. He's not some mannequin that you hand talking points to. And I have always declined to discuss the content or frequency of my conversations with the president.
Sure, I know, but you have, I mean, when we talked about this for over an hour last night, I get where you can go, where you can't. The point is I have my sources. I called you. I checked out what they told me. You said that was pretty much dead on, but you don't want to get into any conversations you've had. But it is in the newspapers today that you are the source of the person that finally got the president to drop the hammer last week. Now, obviously, you're not taking credit for that. He is his own person. But I guess you can't speak to those reports?
Well, I'm not specifically. I'm not the source of those reports, nor did I confirm them. But Alex, I have spoken about this. I have talked about it. I've been calling for Mr. Comey's firing now for months, and beyond that, the idea that I somehow persuaded the president is just not true.
So he's been calling for Comey's firing for months, about as long as he has.
Has he?
Yeah, but about as long as the investigation has been public.
Oh.
That argument does not work out well. He has stepped it up quite intensely in tweets and stuff recently.
Yeah.
Calling for Comey to be fired. He's beseeched the president through Twitter to fire Comey. Sure. Maybe he didn't personally sit down with Trump and be like, dude, you got to do this.
Did they talk on the phone?
Here's what's fun about that. So he brought up that that Trump says Trump tweeted that story was fake news.
Right.
Roger Stone brought that part of the tweet up. He didn't bring up the last part of the tweet where Trump says, "I haven't talked to Roger Stone in a long time."
Okay.
Because earlier in his comments, he said he talks to him a lot. And so did Alex Jones.
So
one of these parties is lying.
Yeah.
It's probably Trump.
You think so?
Yeah.
I could also see Stone lying about that.
Totally. They're both liars.
They're both inveterate liars who are...
But here's the thing. Roger Stone is fucking petty. He is super petty. He's blown up at so many people on Twitter.
He has a tattoo of Nixon on his back. Of course he's petty.
He's full of rage, and I think if Donald Trump really was shutting him out, he'd act against him. I don't think that he would still carry water for him if he wasn't still at least being strung along as being on the inside.
Right.
That's my feeling on it.
I can see that.
So I think that Trump is lying in an attempt to sort of damage control shit.
Right.
Because, I mean, even if you're an idiot president, you have to know that, like...
Talking to Roger Stone at this point is insane.
Well, especially when he is calling for Comey to be fired and you fire Comey, you have to pretend, oh, that wasn't why I did it.
Yeah.
And it might not have been all of it. It probably wasn't. My best theory is that it was Sessions. Sessions was actively involved in that because
Sessions himself wanted to shut down the investigation.
Yes, because I believe from a lot of things that I've read, most of it's speculation, but some of the indications within James Clapper's testimony lead people to believe that one of the names specifically that was unmasked was Jeff Sessions.
It has to be.
Well, the reason...
Otherwise, why would he lie?
The reason that most people have given in terms of their analysis of Clapper's testimony is that he was asked, I can't remember who asked him, but they asked, the names that you've seen unmasked, were they Trump associates or Trump campaign members or members of the Congress? And he said, well, both.
Yeah.
And that's a fun little twist, because it could be two different people and it's both,
right.
Or the only person who was both, Jeff Sessions.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good...
So it could be semantic
Well, I mean,
games.
frankly, at this fucking point, everybody might as well be under suspicion.
Sure.
Everybody in the GOP might as well be, like, holding a fucking target on their back that says probably spoke to the Russians illegally.
But if you look at the people who are the main players, at least publicly, in it, you have people like Roger Stone, Paul Manafort,
Right.
Carter Page, Mike Flynn. None of them are in the Congress.
No.
Player who has actually been a congressperson.
Right.
So that theory is largely hinged on the idea that Clapper was playing semantic games,
right?
Which I kind of hope he was, because that's fun.
That is fun.
But
that is him kind of
with the firing, and then he says some other stuff.
The president's made a bold and I think the correct decision. Comey had no interest by the Clintons. The Clinton Foundation is not a charity; it's a slush fund for grifters, and as we both know, it was the vehicle for the facilitation of multi-million-dollar bribes on matters not just uranium, but across the board.
Your credibility is shot. You brought up the uranium piece. Whatever other things you're going to say, it's almost not even worth investigating what those things are.
Nope.
Because if that's your first example, you haven't done your own research. So I don't care anymore.
I mean, he has done his own research. He just doesn't care if it's true or not.
Right, because it serves his decades-long anti-Clinton boner.
Absolutely.
I mean, he was involved in, like, the Vince Foster shit. Like, quite frankly.
Well, and
his
not
hatred
just
of the Clintons goes back, like, 30 years.
Yeah. Well, and not just that. It is still that distract from me being under investigation.
Whataboutism.
Yeah. I didn't do anything that the Clintons didn't do. Why are you picking on me? It's because of my association with Trump. And if he can pull that little narrative together, then the army of alt-right monstrous morons will fucking go along with it. And they'll say he's unfairly being targeted, and that means that it is an illegitimate investigation.
But as we'll see,
at least it is to them.
As we'll see as this goes on, I think that we're seeing indications that this is a last-ditch effort. Because I think the facade is crumbling a little bit, and they're doing these things because they need to trick those people.
Right.
But he goes on to talk about the investigation a little bit and how everybody, no one's involved with Russia. Please.
Yet Mr. Comey seemed to have no interest in those crimes, wasting his time investigating the non-existent Russian collusion. Again, there is no evidence whatsoever that would hold up in a court of law of any collusion between the Russian and officials in the Trump campaign.
Well, I mean, that's fair in as much as there's not public.
There's no public information that would hold up in a court of law.
But
I mean, even at this point, it's almost like a murder trial. Once the what is it? What's the name of the circumstantial? Once the circumstantial evidence is so overwhelming, it's hard to really care about physical evidence.
Yeah, I mean, you can get convicted for things without a body.
Yeah.
It's possible.
And there are plenty. Look at all the Russian ambassadors who have been murdered.
No, those are bodies without punishment. Those are that's the reverse. But I mean, if you just keep repeating that this is nothing, it's all lies, it's all fake.
Non-existent story. There's no there. It's time for us to move on.
There's nothing there.
Sure, Trump fired Comey just as he asked for more funding, but that's only because that money was going to be wasted on something we all know is nothing.
But
we don't need to investigate it.
If this narrative had any legs, right? If the narrative that Alex and Roger are spinning had any legs, instead of pretending that firing Comey had something to do with how he handled the Clinton and Huma Abedin email situation, they would have come out and said, this is bullshit. We're firing him because he wants more money for a fake investigation.
It would have been so easy to say that.
They could have.
It would have been so easy.
They could have.
It would have been awesome.
And
not only that would have been a great talking point for your Congress lackeys. Because then they could have been like, yeah, of course we support it. We're Republicans. We're trying to cut down on fat on the budget. We're trying to do all this stuff.
It's overblown. He's wasting money. It's bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. That's such an easy narrative, and they're too dumb to even get that far.
Well, because that would be dumb, too, because then you're admitting that an investigation into yourself is the primary reason you're shutting it down. You have to lie in some ways, because he doesn't give a fuck about what Comey did with those emails. He doesn't care at all, except that they didn't prosecute unfairly.
Even in his fucking firing letter, he was like, I appreciate that 3 times you said the investigation into me wasn't important.
That's like stuff. Like, you deny me 3 times before the cock crows kind of shit. But it's the reverse. You've denied an investigation into me 3 times, and now you must hang yourself upside down on a cross. So I like that we know more scripture than Alex Jones, the devout Christian. So this next clip,
he knows 12th dimensional scripture.
This next clip, we get back to like Comey's real crimes again, which are that he's weird. They're going to talk.
That is a crime.
They're going to talk a little bit more about how he just was too fucking weird, man.
And then I called you last night, and you said, well, you've talked to some of your sources, and that seemed to be right on target. It was that Comey was violating the chain of command, was seen as reckless, weird, constantly changing positions, and that he was just seen as overall kind of soft, and that's why the Attorney General recommended he be removed.
My sources said the exact same thing that your sources said. That's 100%
I'm
accurate.
flabbergasted.
He seemed to be empire building. He didn't seem to be responsive to either the Congress or the executive branch. He seemed to believe he was a power unto himself with his own.
Do you mean an independent
agenda.
Power?
Only days ago saying, well,
power
you're stuck
can't
with me
be
for
influenced,
6 years. Well,
thereby
not
maintaining
so
the rule of law.
And by the way, you notice that he said he thought it was a joke when he first heard the news yesterday. Totally disconnected from reality.
No!
2 things. The reason he thought it was a prank is because he found out from the television. And that's a fucked up way to get fired when you're the FBI director. Second thing.
Yeah, it's fine if you're an NFL coach. Fuck you. Who gives a shit?
The second thing is exactly what you were saying, is that there's a reason that they appoint FBI directors for 10-year terms.
Yeah.
Is because it's supposed to be a completely non-political position. He is 4 years into his term. Him saying, I'm going to be around for another 6 years, that is how it should have been.
Right.
That's really fucked up. It's really fucked up.
I'm never going to go to bat for the FBI because they murdered Fred Hampton.
Sure.
Let's never forget that the FBI is an evil organization that has fucked up normal people, has done everything. They are an arm of the regressive GOP politics.
Largely.
That has been true for most of American history.
And that's painting with too broad a brush. That's not all of it.
No, it's not all of it. But, I mean, at the very least, Hoover was an out-and-out GOP hard-on fuckface.
And you're nailing why a lot of people who don't believe any of this Russia stuff, some of them are pretty reasonable people, and their distrust comes from, why would I ever believe anything intelligence agencies say? They all lie.
Right.
And that's a position I can kind of understand if you're going back to the FBI and the CIA's past. they're fraught with trouble.
Overthrowing regimes and creating banana republics.
Sure.
They have done such a great job of that. They did it to us. That's how good we are at making banana republicans.
Possibly by accident. Maybe not. Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe the globalists are actually the intelligence agents.
It's hard to imagine that the deep state doesn't exist, right?
Not in the way that I think paranoid people believe.
No, there's a underground deep state. I think it's hard to imagine that there isn't something there.
This podcast going to turn into you and me turning into the lone gunman? What's going on?
I don't know, but there is.
I don't think so.
I know.
Really don't think
I
so.
wouldn't have thought so 6 fucking months ago. Now I don't know anything.
It's true.
Every single thing I thought about, I thought I knew about American politics, civics, the way our Constitution works, the way our rule of law works, the separation of powers. All of this stuff is gone. It's all consolidated.
The reason that I'm against this idea that you're saying about this underground deep state and what have you is
if you read the Hillary book, the new one out, I can't remember the name of it, but it is basically just one long treatise of interviews from the Hillary Clinton campaign going over how incompetent it was at every step of the way.
Sure, but I think that, well, look.
Shattered, I believe, is the name of the book.
Obviously, they were dumb to think we've got this.
Right.
But
and
if
now
I were her, I would too.
Yeah, well, you'd have to.
Yeah, you'd have to be like, oh, come on now. This is ridiculous.
Right.
So she didn't go as hard in the paint as she needed to, but then there were things that went against her. Sure.
Yeah.
But there were things that went against her, too, that were outside of her control, such as Comey's letter, such as the Alex Jones.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, but if
You
Macron can beat the fascist by 20 points, you would hope
he probably couldn't have if it
weren't for Trump and Brexit.
Yeah.
That's probably true.
The only I think France was saved by our fall to some extent. But anyway, we're spinning our
Which
gears
is
here.
ironic.
We're still in the middle of
considering they will be destroyed by our fall as well.
Yeah, everyone will be.
Exactly.
There's going to be a big tidal wave. But this next clip, I've just given a poetic title to this one. This one is called "The Stone Doth Protest Too Much."
This had nothing to do with heading off a Russian investigation. Senators Warner, Feinstein, Franken, Congressman Schiff, Spire, Himes, they have nothing, Alex. Nothing. They're holding it in their hands. They got nothing. It's bogus, and they're about to be humiliated if they continue down this path.
We'll see. You know?
There's nothing. It's bogus. They've got it in their hands. There's nothing. They can't fill their hands with any evidence. They can't fill their hands with guns. There's nothing there. There's nothing there. They're going to be humiliated if they just keep this going. What they should do is just stop.
That's basically what he's getting at.
Otherwise, you'll be in trouble.
Yeah.
You don't want to get in trouble.
It's a veiled threat in some ways. You know, like, you've got nothing. Just fucking give it up. It's like, you know what it is? It's a poker bluff.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, and that is the kind of action that you take when your hand is shit. When you know, oh, fuck, I have been communicating with Russian intelligence.
Yeah.
Oh, no. They have been watching me. Oh, no. Just give it up. Because in the same way that Alex Jones, whenever one of his ex-employees comes out and says some shit about him anonymously, he knows that they can't publicly say anything about it because of confidentiality agreements, or in the same way that Roger Stone can lie about being poisoned by polonium and his doctors can't correct it.
How?
The doctors can't correct it.
I forgot about how he lied about being poisoned by polonium.
You can make those lies in the same way that he can say they don't have any evidence because they legally can't present that evidence to the public. So you can trick people until that evidence is declassified.
Well, and that's another reason why I can see Stone lying about Trump talking to him, because it wouldn't matter either way. Trump has to deny it. So you can say he's talking to you however much you want, or even if he is or he isn't, he still has to say the same thing.
Why?
Because if you are talking to Trump and you're Roger Stone and Trump says, yeah, I talked to my buddy Roger Stone all the time. That is basically saying I'm complicit in whatever it is Roger Stone is doing.
Is it?
So you have to say no.
Is it, though?
How could you talk to Roger Stone?
After he fired Flynn, he was talking about how he's a good man. He's a great man. Didn't do anything wrong. Sad to see him go, but he accidentally lied to the VP. Gotta let him go. He's a good man.
Yeah.
He said that after.
He lied to the VP.
Right.
About all the stuff that they're investigating him for.
He might not have.
Wait, he might not have lied to the VP?
Pence might have lied.
Oh, Pence is absolutely
Or it
lying.
could be a combo platter. It could be everyone's lying.
Yeah, yeah.
Be that as it may.
This is Murder on the Orient Express. Fucking everybody is doing
We're
it.
getting down to some minutia here. Maybe we should take a step back, because I think that Alex...
Are we getting too deep into the weeds?
We might be. And Alex would like us to look at the big picture, and I think he is the perfect guide to take us there.
All right, Roger, in the 5 minutes we've got left here, I want to look at the big picture. I mean, clearly the Russia thing is completely made up. The Democrats and a lot of the other Republican establishment have been deeply involved with lots of multinational companies and foreign governments. With Trump, it's surprising how little Russian connections there are, knowing he's an international business magnate and, real estate mogul.
Nope. Untrue to a staggering degree.
The fact that he's just being so blasé about what is true, the Democrats and the Republicans have been involved with so many outside business ventures.
But
that's bad on its own. If everything else was normal, that would be something that we should fucking deal with.
I am slightly blasé on that, quite frankly.
Okay.
Some of that is politics. But being involved with Russian mobsters and getting tons of money from weird, shady real estate deals with people with checkered Russian pasts, like, that's not nothing. You know what I mean? The idea that most of his money is lent to him by a Russia-connected bank?
Like how Donald Trump's sons told us.
Yeah.
So in another way,
they can't get loans from American banks, and Eric Trump has said on the record, he's quoted by somebody else, but spiritually it matches up with a lot of the investigations that have been done into Trump's finances without the help of his tax returns, that a lot of their lending comes from Russian sources.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea that he doesn't have Russian connections, even if it isn't Putin, even if it isn't political, it's bullshit.
Yeah.
It's absolute bullshit. Also, the main reason I stopped this clip is because I wanted to warn you that it's going to get really fucked up. I wanted to give you a heads up that it's time to take
mic up, mic down.
In the middle.
Okay.
Have a sip of wine and...
if I spit take, I'm going to break you.
I don't think you will. But this is going to get really fucked up, and then towards the end, Alex cannot let Roger talk, and it's delightful.
That said, the Democrats are never going to get off the offense. They're the ones through their surrogates saying, kill the president, kill us, overthrow everyone. They're at war with us. They're funding the cop-killing groups. They're funding all the social distortion garbage. They're a clear and present danger running around inside our country. And so I'm not calling for authoritarianism. They're an authoritarian threat. And so we need the Attorney General to go after the Clintons, to go after Obama, to go after them all. They want a war. They need to get one. I know in my gut, but also historically. If he doesn't go all out constitutionally with the right thing to do and get really aggressive politically and really start.
I told you hungover.
And Stone is right there. Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Just going along with all of
he's
this
about
shit.
to sign off on it.
Oh, great.
Here comes.
Fucking great.
Getting them back on their heels. They're not going to stop. They're going to make stuff up. They're going to dig stuff up. They're going to twist it, and they're going to try to remove the president. Now, am I wrong? Can he just let them sit there and do this forever? Or should he?
Alex, I think you're absolutely right. I think you're 100% right. Look, we saw how the Democrats politicized Watergate, and they used it to undo one of the greatest political landslides in American history. They couldn't.
What the shit? What? He's back defending Watergate now?
He's retconning Watergate.
Yeah, no, it was the Dems. It was
the Republicans.
It was the Dems.
The Republicans turned on Nixon.
No.
Because they knew that they were going to get voted out.
Cannot conceive. So this
the
is
Democrats were always against Nixon, but the Republicans were obstructionist about impeachment until midterms started to come up, and that's when they turned on him.
Right.
Which might end up happening to Trump unless gerrymandering and voters.
Yeah, I don't think they care at this point.
No, probably not. They wouldn't be behaving the way they are.
They can't possibly believe that they're not. So now here's the other hope there though, is just like these fucks talking right now, pretending all of this shit was true and just rewriting history, rewriting the present in order to fit their narrative.
Yeah.
It's entirely possible that these true believers in Congress think their constituents all agree with them. And so they are immune to being voted out there. They can't possibly accept that there are people who have voted Republican in the past who will turn against them now.
There's a lot of
Now, whether or not they're wrong is a whole different world.
Well, there's a lot of places that vote so solidly Republican that it would be incredibly difficult to get somebody out. But even if they did, then you'd have to primary them because it would be another Republican trying to take their seat as an incumbent. And that's such a hassle that most people wouldn't do it.
Right.
But, like, yeah, it baffles me. I don't know. I don't know. The fact that they're sitting here and, here, let me be clear. The fact that I forgot that part of this clip was that Roger Stone tries to rewrite Watergate, crazy.
That's fucking bananas.
The rest of this is even crazier. The clip's not done.
It's crazier than okay.
There's 2 minutes of this clip left.
Jesus Christ.
Win at the ballot box. So they removed Nixon through this extrajudicial process. It's the same thing here, which is why I say, again, the majority on the Senate Intelligence Committee needs to vote to subpoena Mr. Podesta, his brother, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, Chelsea Clinton. They should be compelled to testify about their gas deal, their banking deal, their uranium deal.
Uranium again.
They're the people who have been in bed with Putin. It is not conjecture. It's not a conspiracy theory. These are cold, hard facts.
Cut and dry.
Or lies.
And it's time for the Senate and House Republicans to show a little backbone.
Yeah, it's time to impeach Hillary Clinton.
They're the ones that have done all this stuff.
Get her out of the White House.
Globalism. We get a real president trying to revert power back to the country. Doesn't mean you agree with every policy, but he really is being the president right now. All these special interests are pissed. They've involved themselves in corporate international espionage, transferring power to this crony capitalist offshore combine, and they want to go on the offense and call for our deaths and all this other crap. It's time to go on the offense against these people.
Well, you put your finger on it. It's time for Attorney General Sessions to convene a grand jury and send for Hillary. I'm sure he has many, many, many questions for her.
That's right, because they're not stopping. They're
email.
I'm sorry, go ahead. They're coming after America with everything they've got, trying to destroy us, and they're the criminals. Then let's let them have it. Sorry, go ahead. We have nothing to lose but running over these people.
I could not agree more. It's time for the Republican Party, particularly the established Republican Party, to show some backbone.
I swear to God, I didn't edit that at all. Twice within a minute, he interrupts him, says, sorry, go ahead, and then immediately starts ranting. That is a man who is, like, insane. He's a lunatic.
Yeah.
He's rude to his friends.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, I mean, within the context of his show. So if you can say he and Roger Stone had an hour conversation the night before.
Yeah.
I can't believe that he really talks to Roger the same way off air.
Probably not.
So if you can,
there's a performative aspect, probably.
Right. You can justify.
We talk to each other about the same off air as on air.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, just no mics. Maybe more yelling.
Yeah, usually you join in the fun.
Yeah.
No, then I imagine that on air, it's part of the dynamic of the show. When Alex is like is ratcheting it up. Because, it doesn't matter. It is still a performance.
Even so, having listened for the last 5 months straight, and I'm dipping back into the archives, I have a thorough investigation I'm engaged in right now that I can't, look, I can't.
You can't reveal it
I can't reveal it yet, but I'm onto something really big.
All right.
But
Do not ask Trump for more resources. Don't do it. I swear to God, he's going to fire you.
Next day, I'm fired from this podcast. My cat takes over.
Who'd I get to replace you?
Rudy Giuliani. So, even having listened to hours and hours and hours, like you guys listening have no fucking idea how much I've listened to this dumbass man talk. I've never heard him interrupt like that. Like,
really?
He's been ruder of, sorry, go ahead.
Right.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. We have nothing to lose but running over them.
Yeah,
I don't understand what that means, Alex, first of all. Why are you interrupting somebody to get that out?
I don't know. He just remembered the phrase, I guess. So I cut out a ton of the rest of Roger Stone's interview because, I mean, it's all more or less the same.
Mm.
There's not a ton more. I can't remember if he's still on this next clip or if he's already left, but what happens after Roger Stone leaves is, remember that notorious March 30th episode we did where Roger Stone was drunkenly deteriorated into a man talking about selling his car and the ways you learn?
Yes, the most beautiful episode.
There is a little...
Go back and listen to March 30th one more time, to just near the end where Alex gets super introspective.
And refuses to look at Rob Dew.
Yeah, so weird.
There's a little bit of that energy here. Roger Stone ends up leaving and things go a little weird. They go a little bit weird, and we'll get to it. But this next clip, he just expresses how glad he is that Comey's gone and talks more about Hillary's crimes.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. I think I should just open the phones up and play some clips of what's been unfolding. But this really makes me feel good about President Trump.
Christ.
In that he has fired Comey. Comey that stood there while Loretta Lynch met on airplanes with Bill Clinton breaking the law while he was under criminal investigation. Lynch, who sat there with all the WikiLeaks info coming out, how they were coordinating with the White House on to cover up crimes.
Nope.
The uranium deals to Russia, the sellout of our technology to China.
Still not
true. The
true.
Clintons have been protected by the FBI for decades from the highest levels committing their crimes. And then all the WikiLeaks pedophile information. Police department wanted to release, but the FBI basically shut down.
So you can see there that, like, his one example is that Loretta Lynch was on a plane with Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
That's sort of what he keeps going back to, which means he doesn't really know all that much.
All you need.
The uranium deal brought up again, and then he says that people were complicit in selling our technology to China. And it's actually kind of interesting because when I was researching the uranium deal, basically what it boils down to is that Hillary Clinton, because she was Secretary of State, all of the heads of departments, like all of the secretaries, essentially, in the cabinet, are part of a 9-member organization called the Council on Foreign Investment in the United States. And anytime a foreign company tries to buy something that may or may not be relevant to our national security, the deal gets reviewed by the CFIUS. I believe that's how you would say that. I don't know how to pronounce a C and an F right at the beginning of a word. CFIUS? Who knows?
Who cares?
But anyway, this organization...
That's actually a really good idea.
This organization... So when this uranium company was being bought out by a Russian company,
right,
it was something that got reviewed by the CFIUS.
Because it is in our...
And Hillary Clinton, as one of the members of this 9-member committee, could not have any personal involvement in the outcome of the decision. She couldn't have swayed that decision. And the outcome of the CFIUS is that they make a recommendation, and then the president can let the deal go through, or he can put the kibosh on the deal.
Gotcha.
They don't choose what happens. So even if she had said, don't let this go through, it's not her choice to make. So the idea that she sold this uranium is number one, factually inaccurate, and then logistically inaccurate. But while I was doing the research into that uranium deal, one of the interesting things that I found out was that in 2016, Barack Obama did stop a company from being bought because he felt it was relevant to our national interests.
Really?
And it had to do with a recommendation that the CFIUS had made, and it was involving a Chinese company from buying a Dutch company that produced microchips out of concern that they were doing so for nefarious reasons and would have too much of the microchip market. So Alex Jones saying that the liberals and the Democrats are way too interested in letting China have all our technology. There's a concrete example from a year ago of Barack Obama stepping in and being like, well, we've got to be careful about the Chinese consolidation of technology. So
literally, not literally meaning figuratively.
No.
Literally, the liberals he is decrying for doing a thing.
Yep.
did the exact which he ostensibly wants.
There's a article in the New York Times from February 4th, 2016 that I've linked up in that article about the uranium deal. You can find all the resources there. It's fully documented. It's an absolutely concrete example against what Alex is talking about. Now,
it's in the white papers. It's in their own white papers.
Secondarily, all of that stuff that he's saying about the WikiLeaks means he's never read it, because those things aren't in there.
Why does he pedophilia thing again? He is referencing Pizzagate, right?
He has to be. If he's talking about the WikiLeaks aspect of it.
Yeah. There's no other explanation.
Well, you could be talking about, like, all right, we weren't talking about Comet Ping Pong, but what we were talking about, like Alex brings this up all the time.
Right.
The idea that Barack Obama you're adding adjectives in and you're misrepresenting what the actual WikiLeaks say.
Right.
So you haven't read them. Someone has told you. It's all secondhand.
Right.
That entire description, again, I don't think Hillary is the best person in the world. She's still a politician. She's complicit in some shit. But at the same time, all of the examples he gives are unnuanced and either lies or just things he doesn't actually understand. It's embarrassing. It's absolutely embarrassing.
It would be if anybody but us was capable of giving a shit.
Yeah, I guess so. Everyone who cares has already written off Alex and assumes he's lying.
Right.
Right. Whereas we engage and actually prove he's lying, and it doesn't matter. But thank you to everyone who actually enjoys the show.
I think it does. I think it does matter. Once we get enough listeners, say 45 million listeners a week.
That's coming.
That's right around the corner.
Yeah.
With all the new policy wonks we keep getting, I imagine 45 million people are about to be on board.
Even though Google's trying to delist us.
They are.
Yeah.
You search Knowledge Fight, and I swear, we're like...
First, I think.
Yeah. For now.
Yeah.
Until we get Chobani.
I think this turned out pretty good. I like the jump scare and the details on the gills there that we can see. Like the timing of how he jumps up, I think it works out pretty well because it's right as you're kind of like looking right here. Like, let me get a look at his face, and then this just interrupts your vision just the right way. Little Alex Fishies. So now what I have to do is deal with the backgrounds and stuff. And I might make a couple different versions of this without the close-up, just for like maybe a farther away shot. So what we need actually is to get the aquarium on a separate layer. And I think if I just have this like transparent blue layer, it's super, I could do that in DaVinci. You just get like a blank color and you turn down the opacity until it has like a nice blue haze over it. So it looks like it's underwater. Well, let's see what we've got going here. So this is the aquarium. That's our adult fish. So what do we got? we got 1, 2. So that's just background. 1, 2, and then the front pane here. That's just like transparent blue. Okay. And we got this fishy Alex, but let's make a new... We'll make a new file that's just the aquarium. Maybe we'll make this bigger too. So here's how I do it. I go to new, I go to film 16 by 9. This will give me a big 4K thing to work with. This is how I'm just trying to do things now, more with 4K on Krita, because then everything gets scaled down once, because all my videos are rendered in 1080p. So if everything I'm working with is made on a 4K screen, I can scale it down and everything still looks sharp. But if I have a small image and I blow it up, it looks all fucky. It looks all screwed up. So here's my lovely little thing. And so here's the problem. So here's my 4K screen. That's how big I made the aquarium. Let's just see what happens when we blow this up, if it gets too fuzzy. We're going to just do a little test. So here it is, big 4K screen. Let's get this guy in there too. Oh, this is going to take a while. Hold on. Cancel. So, I don't think it looked too bad. But I've already got all the bubbles and everything. Maybe this will just be good enough to go ahead and throw to DaVinci. So the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to hide the layers I don't want. So let's just do a clean aquarium. What am I missing? Oh, the base. The base of the aquarium. We may or may not use that, depending on how close we are, so I'll have it there. The scale of it, how does it feel? All right, so this will be one layer. The next layer will be bubbles, just bubbles. And actually, this is the only animation, really. It's just a bubble loop. So I don't even need all of these frames. I think I could loop it from, say, here. Let's see how that works. Loop-be-doop. Bloop, 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 bloop. Okay, I think that's good enough. So we'll do one layer of bubbles, and that is going to have to be a PNG sequence. Pong. And the other thing I want to do then is I'm not going to worry about making this 4K because there's not really anything detailed about it. But I will try to follow that rule when it comes to faces and other things that need to have rich details. Oopsie. So that's all the size we need for it. All right. So what I'd like to do is let's listen to the video again. We're going to listen to what we have so far, just to sort of get back in the mindset, remember what we're doing, get a feeling for the timing, get some new ideas. We're going to go to Fry Tester. This is the latest upload.
If you want to talk about how, like, maybe Alex is right, I posit this next clip as evidence that you should shut your goddamn mouth.
Okay.
The end of free will. Total digital enslavement. The de-evolution of man. And they're getting us ready for it, saying no mothers and no fathers. No family unit.
Is that how they're doing it?
No, just take drugs and watch TV and just bliss out. And you're journeying towards species extinction will be complete. Very selfish move. And the people running the planet are creating new species as fast as they can. Every few hours, a new species is created. A new species. A new species of virus. A new species of bacteria. A new species of animal / plant / insectoid / silicon. It's already here. Synthetic nanotech humanoids. Yeah, the robot cats were back in the 60s. The robot rats were in the 80s. The robot roaches in the 70s. It's beyond robots now, boys and girls.
Wait, why did they start with cats and then go to roaches?
I was told by a genetic engineer.
Excellent.
About a project they were on. Oh, God. They had in tanks people with gills, and they're little babies, and they were in there just gulping, clawing at the sides. You see a turtle at the zoo, and it wants out, and you feel for it. They got humanoids crossed with fish and stuff. I mean, we are screwed, people. I mean, do you understand that? And I know I keep obsessing because it's in the news what they're doing now. They don't show it to you. They just go, yeah, gestating on farms are embryos of humans growing in animals. No, it's beyond that. They take them out. They keep them alive. The gulping humanoids in their tanks.
God.
Scrabbling at the side with human horror in their eyes.
Human horror in their eyes, but fish gills in their place where humans would normally not have gills.
Yep.
The horror in their eyes.
So look.
Fish people in tanks in England.
Yep.
With horror in their eyes.
Human horror.
Human horror in their eyes.
The kind of fear that only humans can experience was happening to these fish people.
Right. I want a fish person.
They're scared all the time in those tanks.
I get a tank. I play with it. I feed it little fish food or people food, which steak. Sure. That's what I do, and I pour it in there.
Oh, it's quite fun.
I posit this next clip as evidence.
And just bliss out. And you're journeying towards species extinction will be complete. Very selfish move. And the people running the planet are creating new species as fast as they can. Every few hours, a new species is created. A new species. a new species of virus, a new species of bacteria, a new species of animal / plant / insectoid / silicon. It's already here. Synthetic nanotech humanoids.
Synthetic nanotech humanoids. Synthetic nanotech humanoids. Okay, I think we got baby Alex fish gulping with gills. That is a check. We've got all of those. A bright and glorious check on that checklist. If that's all we did tonight, that's pretty good. That's a pretty productive night right there. Just this little shot right here. Little babies gulping. So, I think we're off. We've got some good stuff. What other interesting / challenging shots do we have left in this show, in this cartoon? Well, we have Jordan going up and offering and looking at his new pet Alex fish in his tank. So those are the scenes where the tank's going to be smaller because it's going to be in Jordan's house. And the little Alex... Ooh, okay, so this is my other background. It is dark purple with caustics. Little caustic overlay just for that extra little touch. Just for that extra little touch. I actually want to make another scene with these caustics, these little water reflective effects. I want to make a scene where Alex is just walking through this dark room here, this dark purple room, and then we just see his face kind of turn and look and see the aquarium. So what we would do is have a close-up on his dumb fucking face, and we would have these flickering water effects as like an overlay, as a way of signaling, oh, he's looking at a fish tank, right? So I could get that one little just cinematic thing of him like stepping around the corner into wherever this like underground tanks are. So that's maybe another thing we can think of. This is some kind of globalist lab in England somewhere. So maybe it's under Stonehenge. Is Stonehenge in England? I don't know. Already here.
It's already here. Synthetic nanotech humanoids. It's already here.
Synthetic nanotech humanoids. I should animate something for that.
Synthetic nanotech humanoids.
I kind of just slapped this on the background for now. But I could do a lot more with it. I think I might animate something on top of it. Synthetic nanotech humanoids. This clip just always makes me laugh.
It's already here.
Combined with the face and Jordan's laugh, cueing you to laugh, I think this is going to be the funniest part.
It's already here.
It's already here. All right. What are we doing? We are exporting this fish tank in 3 layers. The first layer is a still of the fish tank. So when I go to render animation, I'm going to export, everything's going to be image sequences for this. We're going to call this fish tank. And fish people. Not fish oil. Let's give this a new folder. It's called fish tank. So, 2 fish were in a tank, and one turned to the other and said, pretty smooth. Just not, the playback's a little rough, but okay, that doesn't look good. If the bubbles are just stopped there, because that, and then there's like a line, there's like a hard line on a, so these need to be, maybe we could speed these ones up a little bit. I'm going to try to animate this one. Put a keyframe there. And then move it up here. Put a keyframe there. Wait, where's my pop scare? Happens right there.
Andy in Kansas, you're on the air. Thanks for holding.
Yeah.
Sandra Bullock.
Yes.
It has been asked and answered.
Well, because he's not on the team, basically. I think if I'm using some subtext to answer that question,
Yes.
but yeah, it's
we definitely want our law enforcement branch
If you want to talk about how, like, maybe Alex is right, I posit this next clip as evidence that you should shut your goddamn mouth.
The end of free will. Total digital enslavement. The de-evolution of man. And they're getting us ready for it, saying no mothers and no fathers. No family unit. No, just take drugs and watch TV and just bliss out. And you're journeying towards species extinction will be complete. Very selfish move. And the people running the planet are creating new species as fast as they can. Every few hours, a new species is created. A new species. A new species of virus, a new species of bacteria, a new species of animal / plant / insectoid / silicon. It's already here. Synthetic nanotech humanoids. Yeah, now, boy, holes in their little babies and they were in the testicle. Oh, God. They got human. We are screwed, people. I mean, do you understand? They had human horror in their eyes. Human horror in their eyes.
God.
Scrabbling at the side with human horror in their eyes.
Human horror in their eyes, but fish gills in their place where human.
Andy in Kansas, you're on the air. Thanks for holding.
Hello, Alex. I'm a first-time caller. I'm a huge fan. I love your work.
I love you.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Knowledge Fight. I'm Dan.
I'm Jordan.
We're a couple dudes who like to sit around, drink novelty beverages, and talk a little bit about Alex Jones.
Indeed, that is what we do, Dan.
Yes.
Dan.
Jordan.
Dan. Why in God's name would you listen to this
Oh,
podcast?
maybe you're disenchanted with meaningless talk. I couldn't keep that up.
You have come to the wrong place.
Yeah, this is all a hot load of bullshit. I don't know.
I think. Hold on.
You know what?
Are we gonna?
You gotta-
Because I don't know anything about Alex Jones.
I know a lot about him.
There
We've
we
got to
go.
change that from why would anyone listen to this show to like what is the like. I don't know how to fix this.
You're giving me notes?
No, because I didn't finish.
I thought we got a good bit out of it. I thought we got a good joke.
Next bit is going to be us having a meeting about our introduction. Jordan, today we have an.
I hate it when my boss comes down on me.
Oh, it's going to be a horrible meeting for you.
Oh.
You don't need to sit down.
Okay.
It's one of the. I've had a lot of those meetings in my life.
Pack
Dear Lord.
up your things and leave my room.
Yeah. The studio.
Yeah.
So, Jordan, today we got an interesting show, but before we get to it, I would like to give a shout-out to a couple of new donors.
Hey!
We're thrilled about it. Thank you so much. First of all, going out to Dan G.
I'm a policy wonk.
Thank you so much, Dan. Great name. Love it. Strong name. Congratulations on becoming a policy wonk.
Yes, and you will be joining Dan for his next podcast. How great is Dan?
Dan's a Dan of a Dan of the people, a Dan for all seasons. Any of these could be the name of my Dan theme.
I'm a big fan of Dan on Fire, starring
Sure. First episode of the podcast, Dan Cortez.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Second episode,
Wilford Brimley?
Yes.
Okay.
Also, like to give a shout out to another new donor. What's going on out there, Fred?
I'm a policy wonk.
Thank you so much, Fred.
Thank you very much, Fred.
I'm a policy.
iTunes is real glitchy, but thank you. We appreciate it. Congratulations on becoming a policy wonk. If you would like to become a policy wonk, all
What
you
would you
folks
do?
out there listening, you can go to our website, knowledgefight.com, click the support the show button, and it will be a done deal. You'll be a
Is
policy
that
wonk.
how you become a policy wonk?
That or
Dan, it sounds too easy.
it sounds too good to be true.
Oh, how could you?
Yeah.
Have you ever tried to donate to a podcast and you're like, I don't know what's going on? Well, try click the support the show button. Yep.
That's the best way. So, Jordan, I've teased this, and today we are beginning the next investigation into Alex Jones's past. Famously, over the course of most of last year, we dug deep into what happened to get Alex Jones to join up with Team Trump.
Right.
And we came away with a pretty solid consensus that it was artificial inflation of his traffic via dummies and bots. Because he admitted on air that his traffic had tripled and his sales were flat.
Yeah.
Mysteriously, no one buying anything, but 3 times the traffic. It's very suspicious. Also, the insidious influences of Roger Stone and Steve Pachenik showing
Correct.
up with their 45 group right around the same time.
Right.
So we've got a pretty good handle on that. There's other intricacies that you can go back and listen to hundreds of hours of recording about.
Yes.
Perhaps laboriously covered.
It is maybe the most exhaustive coverage of the. Oh yeah, you knew why.
Yeah, it's one of the most in-depth and long investigations that no one asked for.
No.
And it turns out I'm doing another. I am interested to figure out. Alex Jones presents himself as the person who's most responsible for the Tea Party.
Right.
He believes himself to be a leader of the Tea Party from the jump. And I want to explore the realities or lies therein. Also, along the way, because of the timeline, we'll be covering Barack Obama's first election. We'll be covering the primary where Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton were going for the Democratic nomination.
Right.
We'll see where his head is at along that road. There's going to be a lot of interesting stuff because the Tea Party in earnest came to the forefront of the national consciousness in the beginning of 2009.
Yeah, immediately after a black man was elected.
Mysteriously quick.
Yeah.
After that, however,
Odd how quick it happened.
However, if you actually look into the history of it, it had been something that had been sort of roiling under the surface. thanks to the Koch brothers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
For a while before that. But we will get into a lot of that and try and figure out what is what exactly along the way. And in doing so, I hope we'll be able to learn more about Alex Jones's true center. Like exactly what is bullshit and what is actually important to him. Like we know guns are super important to him.
Yes. Absurdly so.
And we know that chimeras are strangely important to him. But beyond that, there's so much of these trappings that we see in his day-to-day, especially currently, that like it doesn't seem sincere. It just seems like he's a Trump apologist.
Right.
I think
and it's more interesting, I think, to go back to 2008 just because he is still relatively under the radar back then.
It's true.
Compared to now where he's showing up in all kinds of places that he wishes he weren't.
Uh-huh.
Back then in 2008, it was like, oh yeah, there's that crazy guy. I've heard some crazy shit about him.
There weren't tons of blogs covering him. He wasn't getting sued by everybody. People he could just slander and everyone would be like, who?
Right.
He was happily married to his first wife.
Didn't make as much money.
Yeah.
And therein lies perhaps where he sold his soul.
And also, as we covered in another episode from 2008 previously, he seemed much happier.
Much happier.
Just singing the Highwayman.
Oh, yeah.
For half of an episode. So, Jordan...
He never woke up in the morning and said, oh, God, why did I fucking hitch my wagon to this fucking insane lunatic?
Yeah.
I thought I was supposed to be crazy.
He just had Ron Paul that he's hitched his wagon to, because that seems to be consistent through all of his history.
Right.
But we will get into...
Game recognized game, Dan.
We'll get into all of the intricacies and nonsense along the way, and I'm just going to admit it up front. I started... And he's saying stuff like Obama is going to get killed because he's an outsider. That sort of stuff.
Right,
that's where his mind is at this point. But still, no talk about the primaries, no real talk about the election at all.
So strange because if you this election that we just had lasted 8 years.
It twisted my mind into thinking, of course they'll be talking about this in March.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it makes you think that that's a reasonable thing for an election to take 3 years.
No. Turns out it was not a hot topic back then. But what was? Let's start on March 30th and see what Alex is obsessed about.
Okay.
Spoiler alert. It's he's freaked out about CERN.
And they shoot different particles of lead and uranium and plutonium and gold and other heavy elements at the speed of light into other elements, or they accelerate them towards each other. And these things billions of dollars to build. The European Union built the biggest one. They've got a whole bunch of them here in the U.S., and I'm going to get a bunch of top scientists and physicists on about this. Every time I mention this, people email me and say, man, you're nuts.
Say like a bushel?
This is,
about 7?
Look,
about
I don't
grip of
cover
them?
Yeah, yep.
stuff that isn't documented. And all I know is the head of the British Royal Society, the most prestigious in the world, who's a physicist, wrote a book 20 years ago saying this could easily destroy the planet or the solar system. There's a bunch of physicists that are now suing to block this new collider that the equations show that there is a possibility of basically antimatter explosions is the simplest way to put it.
That is the simplest way to put it.
I mean, sometime this week, someday on the weekday show or maybe even tomorrow. In fact, Trey, my producer's in there yesterday, I dug up one of these physicists who's suing.
That's where Trey Gowdy came from.
I sent that to you. I'm going to get him on.
It all makes sense now.
Trenches.
We have a bunch of them on. And these are not quacks. These are highly respected physicists. And they're saying that the equations are showing all sorts.
Yeah, that's a tell.
You should.
That's what we call a tell.
You have to say.
Yeah.
Hey, and listen, you can trust these guys. They're not quacks. Why did you say that? I wouldn't have thought they were quacks because I'm used to non-quacks being on shows.
He must have had General Stubblebine on recently, and everyone's like, hold on, Alex, we don't know about this.
Yeah.
We don't know about your quackery.
Perhaps to the point of detriment, you kind of think, well, if they're on CNN, they're not a quack.
Right.
I can assume they're not a quack. So I don't need. So you get kind of comfortable with assuming that they're not quacks.
Well, it's a
now. Then you start looking at it now, and you see the guests that some of these people have on, or the New Yorker or the New York Times who they're hiring, and you're kind of like, oh shit, maybe all of these people are quacks.
There's a matter of vetting that Alex doesn't do, and we're starting to realize that other places don't do as good a job of it either.
No kidding.
We had made a lot of assumptions, and it turns out some of these people, oh boy, they belong on InfoWars.
Right.
So it's trouble. It's trouble. Alex is pretty obsessed about this, and he says that he's going to get these physicists on who aren't quacks.
Right.
And we will be dealing with that a little bit later. Suffice it to say, I mean, not today. We'll be dealing with it on the next episode. I'm doing too much. I have some knowledge of the next couple episodes, so I this is a difficult place for me to be in.
So they're getting a physicist who graduated from the homeopathy university, or
no?
What kind of physicists are we getting?
From what I can tell, this guy's actually pretty legit in terms of his credentials. But at the same time, he's a guy who in 1999 said that colliding particles against each other will create huge black holes and destroy the universe, and it didn't. And then here in 2008, he's trying to sue to stop CERN from being opened, and it doesn't work out because the judge says that he's failed to prove in any way that there's, the potential threat that would merit it. And also, U.S. courts don't have jurisdiction over European scientific experiments.
Odd.
Exactly.
Wait, so why did the judge even bother?
Because I don't know.
He was just he was like, well, this is better than some of my other cases I've taken recently. Might as well rule on this.
I'm bored.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know exactly the process wherein you decide what gets on the docket and what doesn't.
Because you would just toss it out. You don't have, you don't have standing?
Yeah.
I mean, unless you really believe it, in which case, of course you do. The entire world is going to be turned into a black hole.
See, in that sense, I think you do have standing.
Well, exactly.
But in terms of jurisdiction,
yeah,
you do not.
The sheriff is the highest law.
That is true.
In the land.
Speaking of someone whose name sounds like a sheriff.
All right, that was a perfect transition.
Especially since I did a finger gun.
You did do a finger gun.
On this episode, pretty early on, Alex Jones has a visit from one Jim Mars. I don't know if you know who Jim Mars is.
No.
He's a gentleman who is notoriously isn't the right word. He's pretty roundly looked at as one of the world's premier conspiracy theorists.
Okay.
Like, he's a big guy.
How do you become a premier conspiracy
He
theorist?
wrote
Are your conspiracies better than everybody else's?
He wrote a bunch of books about JFK, and sort of he's seen as on the forefront of the JFK conspiracy.
I don't know what that means.
He also taught like an accredited college class on conspiracies, and I think that elevates him out of the muck into academia to some extent.
So he's a professor of the conspiracy theories that he makes up.
Yeah, but
all right.
But also, It's important to know that he also wrote 2 books about ancient aliens.
Oh,
So
okay. All right.
I don't
The more we learn about ancient aliens, Dan, the more they are still from there and not here.
The stuff, like the conversations that you want to have about JFK, I'm all ears for. You know,
Yes.
like I'm open to hearing arguments about the anti-Castro Cubans, the CIA, the mafia. I'm open to hearing any of these because that is a really fucked up thing that happened.
Right.
And I'm willing to believe that there was some sort of conspiracy involved there.
And you know what? Frankly, it's just a more fun world if
Somewhat,
it wasn't
yes.
just one lunatic who killed him.
I don't
you
know.
know?
I don't know if it's fun.
It's a more fun world.
Perhaps.
It's a more fantastical world. It's a more movie-like world.
Well, whatever the case
Yeah.
may be,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
might or might not agree with you.
I think
But-
it was actually Sirhan who did it.
He did
who
both of them?
He did both.
Oh, boy.
It was a double tap.
I don't know if it's more fun, but I don't think you're crazy if you believe in JFK conspiracies.
Yes.
I think we can have
in certain JFK conspiracies.
Yeah, I'll listen to all of them, but yeah, you're right. There is a line.
Yeah, there's a line.
There's a
yeah,
line.
yeah.
I do
Like the Sirhan.
Right.
Yes.
I do think you're crazy if you believe in ancient aliens
Okay.
conspiracies.
All right.
That's the line I want to make, and
Right.
Jim Mars is on both sides of that. So I consider him to be someone who has credibility problems, but also researches.
If you say he's one of the foremost conspiracy theorists, that's the end of credibility
Somewhat.
to me.
So he's on the show to talk about RFK. He's here to talk about the RFK assassination.
Right.
And so here's a little clip of that.
Well, of course, this is actually nothing new. Me and many other people, almost since the time of the Robert Kennedy assassination, have loudly tried to shout out that he was not killed by Sirhan, who cannot remember anything that happened. Since
So
he was
says
probably
Sirhan.
But
might
what is
have a
happening
vested
is, and
interest.
what makes these stories significant is that after all these years and after all the further evidence, including scientific evidence, comes out, more and more people are waking up and beginning to realize that the so-called
Everybody's gotta
conspiracy
wake up all the
theorists
time.
were actually right all along.
The conspiracy theorists are right all along, and people are realizing it.
Every conspiracy theorist says that, though.
Yeah, it is sort of like white noise at this point to have conspiracy theorists tell you they're right.
Yeah, and that you need to wake up.
So a couple things. I mean, the Sirhan and the assassination of RFK, there are some interesting elements of it that I think are not being told in terms of there is pretty compelling circumstantial evidence that there were other people involved.
Oh, yeah.
It looks like there was at least one woman who was involved, and they may or may not have been stalking RFK previous to the assassination. But
To me, RFK is the one thing that I like. This is the one thing where I do not need any evidence. I am just going to come out and say that I swear to God, I think the FBI killed RFK.
really,
I really do.
well,
I really do. Mainly because RFK was perhaps becoming the most compassionate and progressive candidate in the history of the United States.
right.
The speech that he gave on the day that Martin Luther King Jr. died, who, by the way, was...
This is, again, a conversation that I'm fine having.
Right.
I don't think you're super crazy if you believe this. But also, the idea that Sirhan did it also isn't crazy.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely not.
I'm going to read to you from the court transcript of Sirhan's trial.
Sirhan, quote,
He's asked, so then there was a time the love turned to hate, because he had previously to this said that he liked RFK.
Yes.
Was that at a time when Senator Kennedy was a candidate for the president of the United States, right? Question. But not all of that. Answer. Well, enough, sir, to have an impression only. Enough to kill him? Answer. I don't know about that, sir. Question. Well, didn't you just tell us here a few days ago that if you would have blasted him? The answer. At the time he came out and said he would send those 50 jet bombers, I would have done that. Question. You would have done that? Answer. Yes, I'm a very impulsive person. Whatever my objective would be,
This is a great conversation.
whatever my objective would be, it's just good for that time.
That's like an interrogation in the drunk tank.
Mhm.
Just like, yeah, I mean, I might have.
Yeah.
I mean, I could have.
I certainly would have at that point.
I mean, it's possible. Like, when it happened, maybe I would have.
I don't
know if I did have.
I don't remember, but I was there and I was shooting. I don't know all the stuff about
Who among us?
all the stuff about because he wrote in they found his diary.
Yeah.
And there was an entry that said, "My determination to eliminate RFK is becoming more and more of an unshakable obsession. RFK must die. RFK must be killed. Robert F. Kennedy must be assassinated." So
These guys always keep a diary, don't they?
but that's because they're fucking mentally ill.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
There's
they
a
always
compulsion.
keep a diary.
There's a
Well, yeah.
compulsion.
I mean, if you write RFK must die twice, like
Right.
a teenage girl writing that she loves somebody,
Yeah.
you're going to kill that person.
Most likely.
Yeah.
And, psychiatrists on record and say that he's like a manipulative person and also of dual natures and fairly schizophrenic. And that falls in line with someone who would probably want to tell you that I don't remember that murder.
Never heard of it.
Right. I
Yeah.
mean, and if you believe a murderer who says, I don't remember that murder, that's on you. Because as we went over on that Project Camelot episode about Mark Richards, he says he was off planet during the murder he was involved in.
I would assume so.
I don't know. I'm going to look at a preponderance of the evidence, and I'm going to say,
The FBI did it.
fine. You can have that. You can have that. I'm not as convinced of that, and Jim Mars would have more credibility if he hadn't written 2 books about ancient aliens. And if he didn't say this. They get into talking about Americans who supported the Nazis.
Of the
Yeah,
bank.
the names of prominent Americans who supported Hitler is pretty amazing. You've got Watson of IBM, you've got Henry Ford of Ford Motor Company, you've got Chase Bank and John J. McCloy,
Chase
you've got
Bank is
the
a person.
Dulles brothers.
Nope. And Alex brings up the Bushes, but conspicuous in their absence from that list,
Never heard of him.
the Koch brothers' father, Fred Koch, in World
No idea.
In World War II, he partnered with an American Nazi sympathizer named William Rhodes Davis to help build the third largest oil refinery in the Third Reich. He also made a ton of money selling cracking stills to Stalin. And then, after that, he would go on to create the anti-communist and anti-Semitic John Birch Society.
Yeah.
Mysterious in his absence, though, in that list. There's a lot. Fred Koch is a big one among those names.
I mean, I sure he may have had an outsized impact. Sure, he may be
He had some inclination towards.
Ford. Absolutely.
He also was responsible for disseminating the protocols of the Elders of Zion at one point. You know, there is a lot of troubling history of U.S. business interests and the Nazis.
I mean, if you run your business like a fascist dictator, you have to assume that you're going to be
You're
a
gonna
big fan
admire
of
a
fascist dictator.
Yeah.
I mean, at least 40% of a lot of the war crimes.
Well, I mean,
But you code, and you had to do all of this shit, and there was a whole like lifestyle that you had to live by just to work for him. Like, he controlled every aspect of your life.
Right.
That guy is going to be like, dictators are pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'd do it.
Well, I get the mentality that you're describing, but I'm just talking about, like, why isn't this on the list?
Oh,
Why aren't you? And to be fair, this isn't the strongest sentiment that I have, but it's curious.
Uh-huh.
Because Alex does talk about these Americans who worked with Nazis all the time.
Yeah.
And Fred Koch never comes up.
Well, of course not.
And so that might be a little reason to be suspicious. Also, it turns out I don't think that they think Hitler was that bad.
Well, they put Hitler in power and then set him up. I mean,
They set him
as
up.
you know, but that's all mainstream history. I can't wait. I'm going to carry the book.
So
I like now history is also
mainstream.
mainstream history.
Mainstream history.
Can't we just have history?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be?
History is, you think it's predicated on facts.
Yeah,
You would
it's
think.
not.
No. So at this
You know
point,
why? It all changed whenever the FBI murdered RFK. I'll tell
Jesus.
you that right now.
So at this point, we have, a very weird Hitler was set up, declaration by Alex. And now...
In what way was he set up?
Who knows? But
Did
now...
they set him up for one crime or all of them?
Probably all of them. That's what Alex
Probably
would
all
think.
of
Yeah,
them?
probably all of them.
Hitler was just a dude who was trying to have he was just a Dumb and Dumber situation where
Yeah.
he's just bumbling throughout the Holocaust. Like,
Yeah.
well, I'll sign off on this paper. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Was he Mr. Magoo?
Yeah, he married a coat rack. Everyone thought it was Eva Braun.
No. Nope.
Blonde wig on a coat rack.
Right. That's why she survived in that bunker.
Yeah. So it's now as good a time as any to go to two very weird commercials that Alex plays on this episode that I don't know what to make of. And
With a word about Israel, here's best-selling author and Bible teacher, Kay Arthur.
If you could only visit one country, one nation on the face of this earth, it should be Israel, because then you'll never be the same.
To start planning your trip to Israel today, call 1-888-77-ISRAEL or visit www.goisrael.com.
so that's weird.
That's weird.
This is even weirder. Listen to this.
Here's a word about Israel from Dr. Jack Hayford, president of the International Church of the Foursquare Gospel.
To go to Israel is to change the way you will ever approach the Bible. The Bible becomes based in an entirely deeper and richer way because you have been where it happened. You'll never be the same when you visit Israel.
To start planning your trip to Israel today, visit www.goisrael.com.
The Genesis Communications Network was making ad revenue off the Israeli government in 2008.
Well, yeah.
And that's wild. Because I don't hear any other commercials for go to Guatemala or go to other countries.
I don't know why the Israeli government was like, InfoWars is where we're going to get some great tourists.
Right.
That's
There's that.
bananas to me.
There's that.
They must have just been blanket, let's put ads out on everything and not really paying attention to what they're doing.
See, I don't think it was InfoWars. I think it was Genesis Communications Network.
Right.
I think it's a network thing.
So it's just, this is before Alex had his own 24-hour...
Well, I mean, most of the commercials that play are for Endgame, the documentary, and other documentaries. Most of it is in-house commercials for his documentaries and books and stuff. And then every now and again, something like this. And I got to be honest, it threw me for a crazy loop.
Yeah?
I don't know what to make of it.
So after going to go to Israel.com, you were never...
But I'm
sure?
confused.
You'll never
be the same. That's almost as good as Diamond Gusset. But it's crazy, man. It is nuts. I don't, Again, I don't...
Why is that so nuts to you?
Because, look, I don't agree with their conclusion, but one of the pieces, government of Israel.
Yeah, but that's just it was the tourism board.
Right.
Like the tourism board, there's
it's
so
part
many
of the government.
So many you see billboards and shit for go to Mexico. This is a Royal Caribbean cruise ad.
I understand that you see go to Wyoming, and stuff
which
like that,
is
paid for
bananas.
by the Wyoming Tourism Board,
which is actually where you'll see where the Bible happened.
But it would be different.
You're trying to get through that.
It would be different if all CTA bus drivers were anti-Wyomingites. Their worldview was based on lies about Wyoming. And everyone who...
How do you know that's not true?
And everybody who criticized Ventra said that they secretly worked for Wyoming. That's what would make it... That's what makes it very... Alex Jones, and I were Ted Anderson, I would say thank you, Tourism Board of Israel. We appreciate the offer, but we don't want to accept this because we are afraid it would give the appearance of the thing that we are inaccurately criticized about all the time. It seems like bad optics for us. Thank you very much, but we have to pass.
Right.
That's what I...
But again, this goes back to my argument about his anti-Semitic critics in that they give him cover. So he can be as anti-Semitic as he wants, and they are like, you're not an anti-Semite.
So he's running this commercial to bait them?
Exactly. That way he's not, that way he can play the victim if you call him anti-Semitic. He's like, look.
Yeah, it's possible. That's probably if you... If you want,
Like, to me, that's a smart move. If he was doing it on purpose, which he probably wasn't. But
I mean, there's so many layers of intention there. It's very confusing to me. I don't know what it means. I have zero idea. I don't think that it's proof that he works for Israel or anything like that. I'm not changing my position on that. I think your position is the most sensible because it at least accounts for the psychology of the individuals.
Right.
But
well, and then there's the other psychology, which is Ted Anderson really likes money.
But
and
also,
they were offering to give it to him.
But also, at the time, Ted Anderson was running a show called What Really Happened with
Don't go to Israel.com.
He was running a show called What Really Happened with Mike Rivero at the time, and he was a fucking super anti-Israel. He was a aggressively anti-Israel guy.
Right, but business is business, man.
I don't know. It's very confusing to me. I don't know the ins and outs. Anyway, in this next clip, I don't think we have a conclusion there.
No, I don't think there's anything concrete to draw from that at all.
It's just weird. In this next clip, Alex Jones lists a bunch of people who have spoken out about 9/11, and then comes in with a little bit of a scare tactic at the end.
But now we have just everybody, all these physicists, all these scientists, Italian presidents, CIA section chiefs, Willie Nelson. I mean, all these top actors. Best actress this year. Bruce Willis, no longer being a neocon, saying they killed Kennedy, and the same group that did that basically did 9/11. I mean, they're losing all their own people. What are they going to do?
Well, unfortunately, they'll probably go to the tactic of desperation, which is to launch another war or to set off a nuke or some terrible terrorist weapon in this country, and then, of course, blame it on foreign terrorists and take more power.
Meanwhile, the very same elite with the admitted superconducting super colliders and other similar facilities are doing things their own equations say good chance of blowing the entire planet up.
Good chance is strong.
Good chance.
Good chance is strong.
What is a good chance? What would you put that at, like 35%, or are we going with a really good chance of like 65%?
Neither. Much lower. So Willie Nelson is on par with scientists
and the Italian presidents. Multiple?
I guess.
Because this is back when Silvio Berlusconi was running wild.
Did Berlusconi say 9/11 was an inside job?
He probably did.
He was drunk.
He was crazy.
Yeah.
He was in the middle of fucking 8 prostitutes at the time.
Right.
Yeah.
9/11 was an inside job.
Sex workers.
Get over here.
Apologies.
Get over here. So, yeah, I mean, I kept that clip in because that transition between Italian presidents and Willie Nelson is really funny.
So good.
But then also, just to illustrate that 10 years ago, Alex was still doing the exact same scare tactics. That, like, the next thing they're going to do is nuke.
Right.
Election, too.
There's so
like this
many
last
other
year.
moves to make before nuke.
Right.
It seems like you've got to.
But he's not
You've
concerned
got like a
with that.
protocol of like, okay, if they do this, we do this. Like nuke is at the very bottom.
He's not concerned with that. He just wants to scare people because then you can make those ducats.
Which seems crazy, and this is probably my own prejudice, but anytime I hear somebody who is supposed to be an expert with a Southern accent, I'm always going to be like, are you?
Yeah, that is a bias you need to get over.
I'm sorry. The Southern accent really kind of invalidates a lot for me.
There's a lot of dumb people who speak like that, and it hurts.
Logically, no. Logically, it doesn't track, right?
No.
If A, then B. If B, then C. It doesn't mean anything.
Well, it's just the media perception that's been given to people with Southern twangs.
Right.
The gentleman's twang,
Well,
as they say.
I mean, they haven't really done a great job of representing.
I think you're...
I would say there's a good chance that all Southern people have never graduated. I don't know where I was going with that.
I'm trying to think of famously smart people who speak with a Southern accent.
How's it going?
It's tough.
Did Stephen Hawking, before he got the ALS, we can't prove he doesn't have a Southern accent.
No, that's possible. It's not good that the only person I could come up with is Jim Ross. WWE announcer Jim Ross.
Yeah, that's not great.
He's pretty smart, though. So this is a Sunday show, so it's a shorter affair. And Alex has one more interview on the show, and it is an interview with a what's this guy's name? I don't remember his first name, but he's a Japanese politician by the name of Fujita. And I just threw it out with the bathwater because it's nonsense. They just talk 9/11 truth, but if you look into it, like this Japanese guy, only is into 9/11 truth because he watched Loose Change, which was produced by Alex Jones. So Alex Jones's film gave this guy questions about 9/11,
right?
And then he made them public, and now he's a guest on Alex Jones, repeating the same shit back
That's
to him.
That's creating the feedback loop that they thrive on so much.
It's not even a feedback loop; it's an elevation loop because now you have a foreign politician who's regurgitating your narratives back to you, which elevates them from your standard rabble.
Now I just want a Japanese translated version of Loose Change.
I bet you could find one.
I bet it'd be great.
It'd probably be riveting.
It'd be so good.
So it was kind of a boring...
Like whenever Jimmy James's book was translated into Japanese and
Super
then translated
Karate
back.
Death Card.
Oh, yeah.
Kill.
War. War.
So I threw that out. We don't need to listen to it. Who cares? But at the end of the show, there's a couple callers that I think are worth listening to. And here's the first one. It's a guy named Nick, spelled N-I-K, which is a good sign.
Let's go ahead and take another ring-a-dingy. Let's go ahead and talk to...
He's so much happier.
N-I-K,
so much
Nick
happier.
in Arizona. You're on the air.
Hey, how you doing, Alex?
Good.
I just want to thank you. You're an inspiration, absolutely. Me and my brother started this website called lookupandwakeup.org here in the Phoenix Valley, and we're starting to cover the chemtrails and the surveillance. I just want to give you a quick example of what happened to me the other night. About 12:30 in the morning or so, I was hearing a chopper go over my house.
Indeed.
About 20 minutes later, I go outside to have a cigarette, and I see the chopper in the distance, and as soon as I step outside, he goes towards me. And then all of a sudden, he's got his lights shining down different houses or so.
Good, you're Al-Qaeda. You can't have that chopper on the border. It's got to be on you.
Yeah. And then, so he started coming towards me, and then he was flashing in a different direction. He gave me a quick flash, and then he turned around my house. And it was a full moon that night.
Well, drink fluoride. Everything's okay. Calm down. Drink fluoride. Drink fluoride. It's going to be all right. Submit to him. He's good.
So I was outside, and all of a sudden I'm looking around. I'm hearing this chopper, and then all of a sudden this guy's flying over my house like stealth mode. Didn't have his light on, and I turn around, and then bam, the freaking light is shining down on me like for no reason at all. I'm just standing up.
Well, sir, you're evil, okay? You need to be tracked and traced, and there's no more warrants, no more free speech. You're bad, okay? Submit to it. It doesn't exist. Trans-Texas Corridor doesn't exist. The billboard doesn't exist, CNN says. There's no toll roads on the roads. The Sintra isn't Spanish-owned, the Austin Chronicle says. Everything's fine. Go to sleep. Shut up. Submit to government. Love them. Drink your fluoride. Take your mercury-filled injections. Love them. Love them. Just please learn to submit to them. Oh, it's so simple.
It's like he forgets that he's being
so
sarcastic.
the only thing I want to say there is...
That was kind of a bummer at the end.
Well,
his sarcasm is bad.
I don't think that's sarcasm. I think he's phoning it in. But I think it's irresponsible if someone calls you and is like, there is a helicopter following me because I write a chemtrail blog. That's essentially what that guy was getting to.
Well, yeah.
I'm a target of helicopter surveillance.
The moment I started writing about chemtrails, now helicopters are coming over my house without their lights on.
Exactly.
1-to-1.
I think if someone calls you and says that, it's your responsibility as an adult to say, this is paranoia. You need to look into this.
And stop living with your brother.
Not scream at them, drink fluoride, submit to this, and further their paranoia.
Right.
But Alex Jones makes money off paranoia, so he's fine inflicting these poor people and indulging their bizarre paranoid fantasies.
Yeah.
Because, look, the other day there was a fucking helicopter flying over my house for, like...
Yeah, but that didn't happen until we started doing this podcast.
Right, a year and a half after. There's helicopters all the fucking time. And you know why? I'm not too far from the, Lakeshore Drive.
Right.
There's traffic helicopters
all the time
over it. Or, hey, there's crime around. And sometimes there are helicopters that are...
looking for crime.
Exactly. And so it's easy to interpret those things incorrectly.
I just got the image of the police helicopter pilots just being like, oh, it's 4 o'clock, boys. Let's go looking for some crime. And then everybody jumps
Let's go
on.
find Dan.
Yeah, let's go.
When you see a helicopter closely over your house, for example, it's easy to think, oh, this is suspicious because you don't have all the information. In the same way, I get a lot of calls. When I answer them, no one's there.
Right.
And if I wanted to, I could play the game of people are fucking stalking me over the phone. And if I were to express those things to you, you would very likely say, that is an unhealthy way to look at it. Right. If you did that, you'd be being a bad person.
I would definitely be being a bad friend.
Yes. But you.
Although maybe it would be better for the show, Dan.
Maybe.
Have you considered that?
But it's the same level of paranoia, or the same style of paranoia, which is taking an innocuous thing that has an explanation and giving it the explanation that you want.
Yeah.
The reality is that whoever used to have my phone number has bounty hunters looking for them.
Yeah, well, of course.
And that's I've been like.
There's no other explanation.
Well, it's definitely the explanation that is I have to deal with. It's a bummer. You know what it turns out? With bounty hunters, you can't get on the don't call list like telemarketers.
No.
Turns out they can just keep calling.
Right.
You can request, hey, take me off your list. They don't respect that. Also,
hey, take me off your bounty hunting list, please.
Also,
Thank
turns
you.
out they don't believe you when you say, I've never met that person.
That's kind of their job, though.
Yeah, it's annoying for me. Anyway, Alex gets another caller, and this one I think is actually, this one illustrates Alex Jones's lack of commitment to the cause.
Let's go ahead now and take another call. Steve in Denver, Colorado. You're on the air.
Hey, Alex, good show again today. I was going to suggest, what if we had something like a Woodstock 9/11 big concert where we had one day where we had all these musicians and all these actors and famous people come together, and we just spent one day.
Wait, hold on. Did he just say Woodstock 9/11 concert?
Yeah, like a 9/11 Woodstock. Like a Woodstock all about 9/11. What's your problem?
Sorry. I heard that, and then my brain was like, no. And that was very strange for me. I let the clip keep going, and then in my head, all of a sudden I was just like, wait. Woodstock 9/11 concert?
You're mixing like...
Is that a 9/11 themed concert?
Yes.
Should we have a 9/11 themed party?
No.
Is that in poor taste?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Like a pool party. And
Sure.
then we'd all jump into. We would have you know how you have towers. We would have two people standing on top of each other in the water, and then we'd throw you at them.
When I was in college,
and then the third plane would actually hit the house.
When I was in college, and I had much worse taste, let's say, and I had less decorum. I was full of piss and vinegar. I had an idea for a 9/11 party where I had twin bongs. And the lighters would be dressed up as planes.
Very nice.
And I would make a 9 and 11 layer dip, 2 different dips. There were some. Also,
these are some great party ideas.
Also, this one I did do.
Okay.
We had
dressed as a Nazi.
No, we had a thing we did Freedom 40s. Which was you have to drink a 40 in 9 minutes and 11 seconds, or else the terrorists win. That was a part of my 9/11 party idea that we actually did a couple times, and man, it's really hard.
Yeah,
I do not recommend anyone do it. The terrorists usually win. And so, to answer your question, no.
So that's a great metaphor, really.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great metaphor for foreign policy.
Sure,
the terrorists usually win. Usually because you can't drink a 40 fast enough.
Yeah, you end up throwing up. It's too much liquid.
Because they hate our freedoms.
It's too much liquid.
To drink 40s.
Anyway, let's finish this clip. And to answer your question, no, we shouldn't have a 9/11 Woodstock.
Okay.
Kind of helping the people with our architects and engineers for 9/11 Truth right now. We've suggested that as a media event, and we could just have one major big event that we could videotape, sell, and try to show everybody how many people there are from the...
Sure, here's the problem. And it's like that in any
I
society.
bet it's not the right problem.
It would take a lot of groups getting involved, and the groups would never agree.
Yeah, that's true.
And also, no one group, I'm probably the only person that could actually pull it off, could go out and get the celebrities. Because the celebrities don't know or don't trust, because they don't know these other groups. They haven't been around as long as I am. The celebrities just call me up. The phone rings, and they're on. And that's because they know I've been around a long time. They're aware of what I've been doing a long time. That's been batted around by people, but I haven't really actively gone out and pushed it. Just because I couldn't imagine the headache of it all.
Sure. So
the issue with a 9/11 Woodstock is infrastructure, booking.
First of all,
these are all big problems.
I agree.
Sponsors.
I agree with his premise that no one would agree on stuff.
Yes.
I definitely agree with that premise. Yeah. But then, it's like, the only person who could pull it off is me, and I don't need that aggravation. It's like, dude, you're not really contesting the claim that would be huge for 9/11 truth movement.
Well,
you're just saying I wouldn't want to put that kind of work into something that I am tacitly saying would be effective.
Well, yeah, it would be huge for the 9/11 truther movement if there was a real, legitimate 9/11 Woodstock. I would watch that.
I probably would.
Who do you think they would get to play?
Well, you would have
Willie Nelson, of course.
Absolutely, he's going to
the Italian presidents.
He's going to MC.
Yep.
And they have like a cover group of the Four Tenors.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
I can't think of any other Italian presidents off the top of my head.
Are there other Italian? There's a part of me that's like
hologram
Berlusconi
is just Mussolini.
Hologram Mussolini.
Yeah. So, Kid Rock would play
as one of the Four Tenors.
The Nuge.
The Nuge would definitely be
there.
The
Nuge is in.
Yeah.
Sarah Palin would probably show up.
Danzig might show up. That'd be fun. He would just throw his own poop.
Obviously, as we've learned recently, Jonathan Davis from Korn.
Oh, yeah.
Korn would play.
Oh, yeah.
I bet you could get a lot of new metal guys.
They would call it Korn 11.
It would be very similar to the Woodstock that happened. So, this brings us to the end of March 30th,
yes.
2008.
Right.
The Sunday show has ended, and now we go to March 31st. And Alex has a whole new set of fears. He is no longer obsessed with CERN, although that will come back up in the very near future. Today, he's pissed off because the media is reporting that there are white people who might be in Al-Qaeda. And
well, that's clearly not possible.
He's taking that news tough. Let's say. I think
because he feels a little bit of personal responsibility for the white race.
You know what? You're not far off.
I kind of think that might be true.
Let's play a couple clips, and we'll get into what his feelings are that are very weird.
There is no Al-Qaeda.
Oh, boy.
There is no real
Wow,
threat.
that's a good start.
And so
right
out
out the
flip
gate
it now. And by the way, here it is in the Associated Press. Mukasey, Attorney General, terrorist behind copyright violations. Copyright violations. Terrorism. See, all white-collar civil stuff is now terrorist. Forget misdemeanor, civil. Just terrorist everywhere.
So this, I believe, if I were to analyze what's going on here, this is a perfect case of Alex Jones twisting a narrative. He has a story about Attorney General Casey, who is saying things about copyright violations and terrorism. And Alex has changed the story into being Mukasey saying that copyright violations are terrorism, which is absolutely not the case. If you read the story here, what he is saying is that the continuing worldwide escalation of counterfeiting and piracy poses a threat to both our economy and public safety. He said that the mission of the Department of Justice is clear. Whether it's a complex international narcotics ring, a corrupt public official abusing his office, or some scam artist selling counterfeit software, our job is to enforce the law and bring to justice those who perpetrate these crimes. He said, quote, the counterfeiting of products like pharmaceuticals and medical devices, auto and airplane parts, or electronics that go into our nation's critical infrastructure can present a real and direct danger to the public. This is in a speech that he gave. And the point that he was trying to drive at is that one of the larger points was that the theft of inventions poses a threat to the nation's health and safety and can foster terrorism. And that a lot of intellectual property theft is being done by criminal networks, and the money that is made off of them can be funneled into those things.
Right.
Which doesn't mean that all counterfeiting or copyright infringement is terrorism, just that this is a source of some funding.
Yeah, I would say that's a little bit scaremongering on his part. There is a certain kind of, like, Alex conflates them far too much, but he is also being a little bit irresponsible with the way that he is combining the two.
Mm-hmm.
I don't particularly enjoy that kind of, like, if you're going to bring in terrorism, it better be terrorism and not copyright infringement.
It would be nice if we lived in that world.
That would be nice, yeah.
Unfortunately, we're looking at 2008, and Bush is still president.
So everything is terrorism.
Let's consider that just for a second.
Right.
Yeah.
That is one of the problems, though, with this show in 2008, is that whenever that guy was like, oh, well, they're going to call it terrorism and they're going to use it to take more power. It's like, God damn it, you are correct about that. You're just fucking wrong.
Yeah.
Why aren't you doing this? You're on the right. Like, that's what they're doing, but they're not doing it that way, and you're not helping us fight what they're doing because you're like, well, the problem isn't what they're doing. The problem is this magical thinking over here. And it's like, no, they are. Join us.
Well, and also
get on the right team.
And also, the end result of all this stuff is just rationalizing the, surveillance.
Yeah,
stuff.
exactly.
And so, it doesn't charm me, like in terms of what Mukasey was doing and what Bush was up to. I agree spiritually with like being against it, but it doesn't help to lie about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I think is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Anyway, in this next clip, go get back into the idea that white people are joining Al Qaeda, and this is based on a report that came out that Al Qaeda was trying to enlist white people, and that's a reasonable thing to think because, I mean, most famously, we had John Walker Lind back in the early 2000s, who was a white guy who had signed up with the Taliban.
Right.
You have Adam Yahehi Gadin. You have a number of people over the years who have been white Westerners who have joined Al Qaeda.
Yeah.
And in a clip that we're going to hear in just a minute, we will get the obvious rationalization for this, and then we'll get Alex's taking it kind of personal.
Weird.
Yeah.
Weird.
Just as I told you they would do. They're building this giant mechanism to track everything you do, trace everything you do, micromanage you, turn your national ID card off. Your pharmacist, your doctor, your lawyer, school teachers, everyone spying publicly, truck drivers. Neighbors, neighborhood tattletale squads recruiting the high schoolers. I mean, it's massive.
Busybodies.
Truck manufacturers.
Hiring the former head of the Stasi to train the feds how to do this.
Fire trucks.
I want
a truck.
Alex is saying that the former head of the Stasi is being involved in teaching people how to do this.
Right.
A couple years later, he would make the exact same claim about social media. He would say that the head of the Stasi is involved in Facebook and stuff like that. This is just something.
He's busy.
In the same way
he's got a lot of irons in the fire. The head of the Stasi isn't just going to focus on one thing.
In the same way that a couple clips back we heard him do the globalists are desperate, they're going to probably nuke or false flag shit that he does all the fucking time. It turns out another one that he's done for at least 10 years now has been, say, the head of the Stasi is involved in some shit.
He'll get in there.
Unspecifically enough that it's almost impossible to
I mean, it's not like he's personally involved. He delegates responsibility, but he's the one who comes up with the projects.
Perhaps. No.
Hiring the former head of the KGB. I mean, they're really doing it. Going for broke. And always Afghanistan.
Great Foley work.
It's to kill the Middle Easterners. Don't tell them that they're not Middle Easterners. Afghanistan into the Middle East, boys.
No, I don't think
it's all for you.
Saying that.
It's all for you. So when they take your ranch and you say no, they can bring the SWAT team up and burn your house down with you in it. And you know what they're going to say? You know what they're going to do? You know what they're going to push?
You're trying to make up something now.
They're just going to come.
Improv?
Right in there and burn your house down, burn your farm down. And they're going to announce on the news that they were fighting Al-Qaeda. That's what it's all about. You are Al-Qaeda. You are the terrorist.
So that's his takeaway from this idea that the Al-Qaeda may be trying to recruit Westerners, particularly white people.
Is that it's actually the globalists trying to make it so everybody suspects everybody else, thus we are all terrorists.
Right.
Yes.
And specifically so they can get the patriots, and when they Waco them, if we want to use that as a verb.
Burn down their farms.
Exactly.
Yes.
Then they can just say they were Al-Qaeda. We already established it with a news story about how Al-Qaeda is trying to
recruit white people.
Exactly.
Right.
This is so desperate. This is so
not
sad.
good.
This is him.
It sounded like he just made it up on the spot.
With those long gaps,
Yeah,
definitely
exactly.
indicate that his little gray cells are trying to work.
They're going to burn something down. Burn something down. What do people burn down? Farms. That's all I got.
I mean, the farm should just be an indication that he's trying to speak to a specific community because he says your homes, your farms.
Yeah, exactly.
So in this
who are your listeners, Alex?
In this next clip, we get a little bit from Fox News about this story, and then Alex, again, I think he thinks they're talking about him, and that's very weird to me. Because we'll get to it on the other end of this clip.
Stop saying I'm in Al Qaeda.
Most agency officers, most officers from other liaison services don't blend into Al-Qaeda. So we're looking for people who we can fit into there as penetrations. Al-Qaeda, on the other side of the fence, they're doing the same thing. I mean, obviously, if they could recruit a Scandinavian, that's the holy grail for them. They need people who can move around freely and do their bidding.
And people who convert to Islam sometimes are more militant than those who were born that way, correct?
Yeah, you tend to get
and they always go to prisons, too, to get the recruits.
Right. You can argue the converts are always a little bit more zealous in terms of their religious fervor, but part of the problem with Al-Qaeda...
Been garbage the whole time.
Right. This, we need to listen...
We can map the changes in Alex, but Fox News has been a pile of shit since it started.
Pretty much consistently sucked.
Yeah.
We need to listen to this because you need the context to see what Alex is freaking out about. Because he didn't read those reports and what have you. But what they're doing is just trying to extend the fear. They're trying to make the fear bigger of Muslims in general. But Alex has a completely different take on it.
Is that to go into a prison and try to recruit individuals, that person's already tainted. What they really need, they need people who haven't run afoul of law enforcement in the past. And so, in a sense...
And then it goes on and on that it is, just like the FBI training manuals say, white male who locks his desk. A lot of times it says we're in management positions. It says we're quiet. Keep to ourselves. They're evil white males, and they're Al-Qaeda. They're everywhere, ladies and gentlemen. The guy pumping your gas, Al-Qaeda. That school teacher, Al-Qaeda. In fact, the FBI manual says that priest, Al-Qaeda. It says the Caucasian woman pushing the baby carriage, Al-Qaeda. That's a quote. Al-Qaeda.
You don't know what quotes are.
That's a quote. Everywhere. They're everywhere. Take all my rights away, government. Take all my freedoms. Put a bracelet around me with a taser. Keep me safe. They're everywhere.
I'm guessing what he's talking about is FBI manuals that talk about the ascendancy of white terrorism.
Yeah.
And
It's the ones that white people do.
What we've seen the results of
the
10
domestic,
years later.
To me, I think what he's trying to do there is invalidate any possibility of you calling white male domestic terrorism.
Yes.
So he's trying to preemptively excuse. So whenever your Timothy McVeigh does all of that stuff, he's going to conflate the idea of them being terrorists with the government calling them Al-Qaeda.
Right.
So it's like, no, these guys aren't terrorists. They're mentally ill, or it's a false flag.
Yeah.
Because if they were terrorists, they would have joined Al-Qaeda.
Well, in the same way that the globalists are preparing the ground for you to have your farm burned down, and then they say that they were fighting Al-Qaeda in Alex's conception.
Right.
They're doing this so someone like Timothy McVeigh could blow up the Murrah building, and then Alex can say, they just, it's all a setup.
Yeah.
It's all
they're
fake.
going to call him. Yeah.
It's again, like what we're finding, I believe, is pretty decent evidence that the excusing of white terrorism and things that encroach upon Alex's white identity, that's a very consistent thing.
Oh, yeah.
This is 10 years ago that he recorded this.
Right.
And it's a very essential piece of his world philosophy. There may be nothing more. I mean, the guns might even be secondary
to white maleness.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's very weird. It's not that weird. Makes total sense.
Yeah.
But it's
a lot of those guys
have
it really, like, I mean, I would say probably as a terrorist terrorist force. White people are historically
strong.
They're the front runners, I would say.
Competent.
I would say white people have really been doing some terrorism for a long time.
Well, when I hear like a report that says that Al Qaeda is looking for people who can blend in, I hear that and I don't take it personally. I think that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
I
would do that.
That's probably what I would do if I were Al Qaeda.
That's a smart idea.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not gonna get past customs as looking like you're an Al Qaeda. Like
Right.
That's kind of the thing.
If you're a cartoon of a terrorist, you're not going.
Exactly.
Not that everyone is, but
Right.
of course you would look for people who can blend in. That's
just good.
Seems like a good strategy.
Yeah, that's spycraft.
Alex hears it and takes it very personally as a white person, and that to me means.
He is somebody who has said in private, because I don't know if he said it on the show, but he has said race traitor a lot.
I would imagine, if not literally, yes, that idea in not so many words.
And it's I don't know if he's taking it personally so much as more on the lines of, like, to me, what I like. They're saying that all white people aren't on the same side.
Yeah.
Which boggles his mind.
There's some
to
of that.
him, it's every white person is in it together.
There's some of that in there. But he would call it the West, probably, or something like that.
Yeah.
Some code. Anyway, in this next clip, we get to deal with the fact that aired. George W. Bush threw out the first pitch at the christening of the Washington Nationals stadium.
Yeah.
And apparently they were playing the Braves, and the Braves tried to get him to wear a Braves jersey, and he said he didn't want to be booed. And then Alex's contention is that he was mercilessly booed anyway.
Okay.
He plays the audio later. It's a mix.
It seems like he had that coming.
I
feel like he should have been mercilessly booed.
He plays the audio of it, and Alex claims that he's getting, like, booed, and they just piped in some. You can tell that it's just a mixed reaction.
Yeah,
it's a strongly mixed reaction.
They Mitch Hedberg'd the sound.
Right. There's a lot. There are boos for sure, but there are also people who are clearly applauding. Like it's just a mixed reaction, which is what you would expect at a fucking baseball stadium,
especially in D.C.
Yeah,
with the president there.
So that's a different thing. This is him
with the shitty president there.
Yes, this is
and this is right before the massive collapse of 2008. So people weren't even really on the boo the fuck out of G-dubs yet.
Not quite yet. But he talks a little bit about that, and then he says something that's really ironic in hindsight, considering what he says about how Trump is going to save America. Trump is basically America's last stand. He's a bulwark against these globalists and what have you. It's just very ironic 10 years later.
I was reading the AP headline here, and it says that the Washington Braves tried to get him to wear a Braves jacket, and he said, oh, no, they might boo me.
Washington Braves?
Nah.
That's the quote. And then he went out wearing a Nationals jacket, and they boo him.
It'd be hilarious if he wore an Expos jacket.
Announcer just kisses up and just says, oh, that's the best throw by any president ever. He's God.
Didn't say that.
We ought to dig up that Fox News one where you hear the booing and they just fade it down and then fade up cheering, and they go, they love him. It's like in martial law. I have that clip from his second inauguration where they're saying, cheer for him. Let him know that you love America. Do you see the propaganda in that? It's saying Bush is America. You love America, don't you? Cheer for him as hundreds of thousands booed and screamed and spit. But the national news cut back to wide shot and said, they love him. I have that in martial law.
Cool.
It's like something out of a dystopic science fiction movie made 50 years ago, where the emperor is driving through and everyone's booing, and then the announcer's going, they love him.
Now,
pretty sure they made a lot of those in 2000 and, well, every time from the 1950s.
Now consider,
yes,
on the inauguration parade, where you have all of those shots of empty bleachers with the cavalcade going down the road and Alex Jones screaming, the people love him. You get a complete mirror.
Consider the upcoming military parade, in which case Alex will, of course, say, look at how everybody loves the president. Who is America?
Our glorious leader.
Our glorious leader.
It's fascinating. You know what I'm convinced of, actually? I'm going to make a prediction here as we're in the past.
Uh-huh.
I think that Alex...
Are you going to make a prediction about the past?
No, about the future.
Oh, okay.
I think that what's going to happen is, because we keep having these things happen where Trump says he's a globalist, and Alex is like, he didn't mean it. Trump says, I like taking the guns first and then due process later. Alex is like, I think it's a Machiavellian move.
Yeah.
Whatever. And he keeps saying, like, I'll turn on him harder than anybody, all this stuff.
Right.
I think eventually it's going to become clear that everyone but Alex has been right the whole time, and eventually Alex will catch up and something will happen that'll be too much for him to handle. And he'll be like, I wanna go against him. And it'll be like the child who thinks that they know what to do and they make a huge mess, and then the adults have to be like, don't help. You're making it worse. When the kid's trying to clean up and is making more of a mess, Alex Jones is the embodiment of that child who made the mess, thinks they can help clean up, but can't. And we just have to be like, shut the fuck up, go over there.
Yeah.
You're in timeout.
That's a great analysis.
And he won't listen to that, and it'll just be, it'll make it worse.
He's going to...
probably go to prison.
Yeah.
But
we can only hope.
Yeah. I don't know. It's so confusing to me. I don't know how that... I mean, prison or the destitute getting sued out of...
Ooh, homeless Alex would be a fun Alex to listen to.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
He starts up a podcast. I mean, clearly we're living evidence that it doesn't cost much. He could do it even if he was broke.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Hey, you'd have to get some studio equipment.
Go back to your roots, Alex. So, speaking of Alex's roots, in this next clip, he rips off someone's intellectual property.
You're these little sandal wearing, take all the guns, I love government, I am Bill Clinton, I'm bedwetting right now, I love you. Just red diaper doper babies.
What? Red diaper doper babies?
That is specifically a Michael Savage catchphrase.
Oh.
Michael Savage screams that all these leftists are red diaper doper babies.
I don't
They're
know.
children of communists.
I don't like that. I don't think that makes sense.
It makes sense.
It's got a good little rhythm to it.
They're children of communists who smoke a lot of weed. Red diaper doper babies. It's fun. Anyway,
I'm out.
It's very much a Savage.
I'm a hard out.
That term may
Doper
exist
babies.
previous to him, but in terms of like radio personalities and media folk, Savage that's a fucking savageism.
Right.
And a caller called in and asked about Michael Savage, and Alex was very wishy-washy on whether he supports him at this point, but he clearly listens to him, so he's ripping off his phrases.
I would watch a show called Red Diaper Doper Babies.
That wasn't the name of his show. It's The Savage Nation.
No, I'm just saying if there was a show named Red Diaper Doper Babies.
Like a cartoon?
Yeah. Oh, I would watch that.
Like Shorties
Like
watching Shorties?
More
but,
like Muppet
with...
Babies.
Oh.
I would watch it. I would watch Muppet
Red
Babies,
Diaper Doper
but
Babies,
yeah.
your dreams can come true.
Or Rugrats.
and-
If Rugrats was
A little troop of communist babies? That could be a funny show. Red diaper doper babies. They would be stoners. They would be babies, and they would be communists with little red diaper rashes. And they would seize the means of production and establish an egalitarian, fully democratic, stateless, utopian wonderland. And they're little babies at the same time. Could be really good. A lot of, I was noticing a lot of like, when people are doing like 3D renders and physics simulations to get things like realistic looking textures and shadings and all that bullshit. There's a lot involved and a lot of computer programming and stuff. And then when all of it's rendered and fully like mixed down and edited, like 90% of the details that you rendered are now obscured or covered up. And what a lot of times what ends up being the difference is like something you could have probably done by hand. But you wouldn't have known it until you did the render. But I feel like once, you know, obviously that's how you get like fake water and stuff, is because people know how to like pretty much fake it to an extent where it looks like water, even if it doesn't look photoreal. Getting higher formula, talking about abolishing nap time. I think babies would like nap time, right? Babies want more nap time. But not like they just don't want it to be like interrupting their play. And I don't know if you know the feeling of being told that you need a nap when you definitely don't want one because you're actually just cranky. That's a feeling of frustration that I can understand in a child. And I would just tell that child, I hear you, but promise you, you're going to feel better after a little nap. All right? Lay down. And then I did. I did always feel better after a nap. But babies should be able to control when the fuck they take their nap. Because I want to be able to take a nap when I'm sleepy. But it is fine to, like, you know, you could definitely, like, encourage a nap. But you shouldn't be able to enforce it. These strict time limits in the day. What is all this bullshit? Why don't we have a vote? They're enacting all these like schedules without even consulting the baby's natural internal rhythms. When we nap, we nap. When we eat, we feast. Here's the thing. Here's the problem with baby things. You can either make them talk like grown-ups, or you can make them talk like babies. And I guess Rugrats Rugrats was adults talking like toddlers, right? But they weren't really talking like toddlers. They were talking like, you know, because they're like hyper intelligent toddlers. So they're toddlers with like 12-year-old kind of like brains, maybe 10-year-old. What would you say? What was the mental age of the Rugrats, of Tommy Pickles? What are we talking about again? Oh yeah. So here we're putting with this pet human, quote unquote human. This is my fish person. This is my fish person. Isn't he cute? So then let's get these three joined together. What is this? What? Okay. Let's undo. Get all these together on a compound clip. And okay, good. So I can now move and resize this. And we can even maybe zoom in on it. And so actually, one thing I didn't do really is time this up with the audio. But we'll kind of figure it out. I'm kind of just going to get little tests. Because I also have to get Jordan. Because basically Jordan's going to walk in here and say, I want a fish person. I'll keep him in a tank. I'll feed him. And so at that point, I want Jordan to come up and like have like a tray with a bit of human food and a bit of fish food. And I don't know, he's maybe going to sort of offer them out or something. I need to figure out how I'm going to block it. I think that'll be a project for tomorrow. Because I'm kind of on the tail end of drawing and creative stuff. Yeah, that'll be a tomorrow thing. When we're well rested and fresh, we'll figure out what to do. But this is a pretty good setup. And I might change how I animate Alex in the fish tank. But let's try this. Let's put a adjustment clip over the top, and let's just ease in to about here with a zoom. About there, I say. And then we made a keyframe there. I'll take it all to the beginning. And I don't even need to make a keyframe. It'll automatically make one. Let's just change this to 1. And I got this big curve here, and I'm going to have it ease in, ease out. And it's not going to play at its full frame rate like this. Maybe it will if I go here. Like that. 27. Why are you even trying to play 27? We're supposed to be at 24 frames a second. This is their master setting. Well, anyway, let's render it, and we'll call this Alex Fish and Tank Bright 1, and then this will go in under Fish Tank. All right, got a lot going on. Got a lot to work with. I've been watching a lot of behind the scenes and special effects, visual effects artist stuff, especially Corridor Crew. And something that sort of has influenced how I'm approaching this project is the idea of just getting a shot or getting a scene basically, but a shot could just be like 2 seconds of just whatever it is, an edit point. And it's helping me to kind of think of it that way as like this whole, video. The way to do it is just do a bunch of shots. Just make all the shots that you want to make. And then that'll be the video. You just stitch it together. So sometimes I'm kind of like stuck with like, oh, how do I do this? How do I kind of organize it or piece it together? And now I'm comfortable kind of knowing that like I can use a lot of processing power and a lot of layers and a lot of everything. If I know I'm just going to make this very short little shot, if I know what my shot has to be, it doesn't have to be this long looping, or it doesn't have to be a looping GIF. It doesn't have to have a perfect loop, is one thing. Sometimes I just waste a lot of time making looping GIFs that don't need to loop. But that kind of thing of like, just think of it as a shot, not as like, oh, I have this like asset, this like looping little asset that I have now. So sometimes I still am doing that in order to get the shot, but yeah, it's kind of a way of helping me just mentally organize. What am I working on right now? It's got to be part of a shot. That's the basic building block of this whole video. It's just made up a bunch of things called shots. And I have to render it to really see how it plays with its complete frames per second and all that. But where's the video? All right. Okay, so yeah. The facial animation is going to have to change a lot, cuz right now it's just like playing like he's just changing his face every 5 frames or something like that. But I'm also trying to look at the background. We got the little fishies going. I think we need to keep that looping maybe for just a couple extra seconds. That should be easy though, because I think I made those so that they could loop. That's one example where I do need a loop. But what I don't need a loop is like Alex's faces, right? I could have those all as sort of separate things, which is why I've made them like 6 frames long, so I can hold them or chop them up shorter, however I need to. So I can edit I'm gonna edit the timing to basically wait. I'm gonna wait till I can figure out Jordan's timing, because I'm gonna put Jordan in the scene. Maybe we'll play this backwards actually. Maybe we'll. Can I? Oh. This just decreases the speed. Can I play it in reverse? Playback rate. I'd like to, instead of zooming in, let's zoom out like this and make that 1. Oops. This there. Put a keyframe there. 1. Still got a curve. I want a fish person. So then Jordan will walk in here and he'll have some kind of food as he's talking about how he's going to take care of the fish person. In fact, why don't we watch it while we think about it?
If you want to talk about how, like, maybe Alex is right, I posit this next clip as evidence that you should shut your goddamn mouth.
Okay. The end of free will. Total digital enslavement. The de-evolution of man. And they're getting us ready for it, saying no mothers and no fathers.
Yeah, like he's like, hey.
No family unit. Is that how they're doing it? No, just take drugs and watch TV and just bliss out. And you're journeying towards species extinction will be complete. Very selfish move. And the people running the planet are creating new species as fast as they can. Every few hours, a new species is created. A new species. A new species of virus. A new species of bacteria. A new species of animal / plant / insectoid / silicon. It's already here. Synthetic nanotech humanoids. The robot cats were back in the 60s. The robot rats were in the 80s. The robot roaches in the 70s. It's beyond robots now, boys and girls.
Why do they start with cats?
I don't know.
Why would you start with cats and then go to roaches?
I was told by a genetic engineer
Excellent.
about a project they were on in England once, and I never told the story on air because it's so fantastical. Oh, God. They had in tanks people with gills, and they were little babies, and they were in there just gulping, clawing at the sides. You see a turtle at the zoo, and it wants out, and you feel for it. They got humanoids crossed with fish and stuff. I mean, we are screwed, people. I mean, do you understand that? And I know I keep obsessing because it's in the news what they're doing now. They don't show it to you. They just go, yeah, gestating on farms or embryos of humans growing in animals. No, it's beyond that. They take them out. They keep them alive. The gulping humanoids in their tanks.
God.
Scrabbling at the side with human horror in their eyes.
Human horror in their eyes, but fish gills in their place where humans would normally not have gills.
Yep.
The horror in their eyes.
So look,
Fish people in tanks in England.
Yep.
With horror in their eyes.
Human horror.
Human horror in their eyes.
The kind of fear that only humans can experience was happening to these fish people.
Right. I want a fish person.
They're scared all the time in those tanks.
I get a tank. I play with it. I feed it little fish food or people food, which
you got to assume it's able to speak.
I grind up freeze-dried steak.
Sure.
That's what I do, and I pour it in there. I play with it.
So it goes by really fast, the animation. So it has to be very snappy and very obvious.
Time in those tanks.
I get a tank.
These fish people.
Right. I want a fish person.
They're scared all the time in those tanks.
I get a tank. I play with it. I feed it little fish food or people food, which
you got to assume it's able to speak.
I grind up freeze-dried steak.
Sure.
That's what I do, and I pour it in there.
Dan and Jordan. All right. So then, what's to do still is Jordan. Let's just call this Jordan feeding and playing with pet fish person. That's on the list for tomorrow. Synthetic nanotech humanoids. That's something I want to do. I did that. So what else do I have to do? Oh yeah. The genetic engineer. Also in England. Somehow if there's some kind of visual joke I can do there. Like just I don't know, stick a fucking British flag on it or something. The genetic engineer thing is going to be like he whispers into Alex's ear, but turns away, smirking / rolling his eyes. Meanwhile, Alex looks, shook. And he's got just like kind of staring out. And then we cut to his imagination. And where is he? He is in this weird little space where he sees the fish people in the tanks. Because what's key is that Alex did not lay eyes on these. Alex is talking about this with his full, with his whole like song and dance, only on the words of a genetic engineer who said that's what they were working on. A box of flakes with fish food printed on it and crossed out with human food written underneath. Right. Actually, that's a really good idea, Luke. Like, what if, because the way Jordan says it is he goes, I can feed him fish food or human food or, yeah. And I think in that little awkward of that, like, he could be just crossing out the word fish food and writing down human on it. Well, like, kind of shrugging, he looks at the box, it says fish food, and then it's like, or just human food, maybe. Crosses it off. Some nondescript food. So the genetic engineer is whispering this. He's telling Alex this. He's probably just some dude at a bar who's like, hey man, you wouldn't believe you can use fish DNA, and you can fucking add that to genetically modified tomatoes, and it helps them like resist the sunburn or whatever. And Alex will walk away with that being like, they got little fish people. They turn people into tomatoes, and then they turn the tomatoes into fish. So, that's a key detail I want to sort of be able to slip into the animation. It's that this is something he heard about. And then he's like, I never talked about it on air because it's too fantastical. Just gulping. Like, by the end of the story, he forgets that he told you that he heard about this. He's making it sound like he saw it directly. But I've listened to this over and over. He did not he did not hear it directly. He did not see it directly. He's just talking about what some guy told him about. And he's having this fucking really stupid, fake, visceral reaction of horror. The human horror. British geneticists would be concerned with their tomatoes getting sunburned. It's too much sun. And it's hard to know when they are sunburned because they just turn red. Oh, man. Okay. So, this project is called Aquarium. I'm keeping because I'm thinking about shots, I'm also a little bit more strategic with not keeping big projects. That's the key to this program running smoothly, is that I just keep the project size pretty small. So I'm only going to work on like 2 to 4 second shots at a time, and then the program runs smooth, and then I can, once the shot is down and I have all the effects and everything on it, it's only a couple seconds long, so it's not going to be this huge big render. Then I render it, and then I have like a very light little .mov video with all my like crazy, it takes like a fraction of the computing power at that point. So then I can just put all my shots together and edit them together. And as long as I also keep the, keep very high definition. What am I saying? The pixel range. Keep that high. It can go through a couple of renders, probably many renders, before it's going to start degrading in quality. So I'm not too worried about that. But yeah, basically I'm just working a shot at a time. I do have one master file that has like the audio and stuff. But this is old one. I'm a little disorganized. Quite disorganized, in fact. Bacteria. This is a very fun shot. I had a lot of fun with this. It's very computer intensive, though. Because I have this caustic pattern over the top of Alex's face, but also in the whole room. And they're all clone layers with transform masks. So there's a lot of filters and masks and bullshit going on in this shot. I don't even think I can open this. There we go. Doesn't even... I mean, it's just so slow. Look at this. It's like pudding. But it's really excellent. And obviously I can't make the whole animation like this. But I don't have to worry about that. I just do the shot. I only did this for the shot of Alex, you know, in despair, looking in on a fish that looks exactly like him. And then him sort of kind of becoming the fish as well. And then we, the viewer, ask, when does Alex end and the fish begin? And maybe and maybe the line is blurrier than you might think. So I don't know. I think before I wouldn't have thought to make a shot like this, because I kind of would have thought like it's too much for a whole video. Like, I don't know. But it doesn't have to be a whole video. It just has to be one shot. And it can max out all of your computer processing power. Just go for it. And it's going to end up being... It's not hyper realistic or anything, but I think it's still very pretty. And if it sort of has this effect on everything, you at least know what it's trying to achieve. This idea that you're in a big room with a big giant water tank, right? So I don't have to draw the whole tank. That those caustics are reflecting on the wall behind him should gives it a little that idea, like, oh, there's this huge water tank in front of him. Which I will draw another shot of him standing in front of the huge water tank. Because I have the small water tank is for Jordan's pet fish. For this scene, actually, here's what we should put on the list. So, draw Alex in front of, we'll call it dark water tank. Because the light water tank is the fun, jokey one with Jordan in it. This is the dark water tank of Alex's decrepit, fucked up mind. This is the one that we'll be seeing when Alex is narrating and talking about what he heard a genetic engineer tell him about. Right? But I need to draw basically this, but from the other angle, right? Like the camera behind him. So basically the back of his head. Maybe actually just his silhouette. So let's do Alex dark silhouette and giant blue wall-sized aquarium with lots of baby Alex fish and the one big sad Alex fish looking out at Alex. And I think I want to also also make a reflection of Alex on over the fish face. There could be something there. Because maybe I could have the fish, when he looks at the fish, we pan to the close-up of the fish and it's right, but we also see Alex's stupid fucking face. Alex's dumb fucking fat stupid ugly face is also reflected in the glass, right? Because he's looking, his stupid fucking ugly face is looking in the glass, and so there's gonna be a reflection. So when the camera's looking at the aquarium, we're gonna see that reflection of Alex's dumb fucking stupid dumb idiot head face, and that's gonna be right on top of the little baby boy Alex fish, right? And then we can transform, we can change the fish from that point to look like Alex, because I have some of the faces that are like he's making exactly the same face, right? So there's a point where I can cut and sort of turn the fish from a baby to the adult, right? That's a good idea. So fish turns from baby to adult after Alex's reflection is shows over the top of it. So these are notes for tomorrow. These are to-do lists for tomorrow. I don't have the energy to do all this. I'm just thinking of the ideas right now. What else? What else do I got to do? Well, here's another thing I can say is figure out what else to put on this list. That'll be also a thing for to do tomorrow. So it's 3 a.m. You must be lonely. The dark fish tank of the soul. Thanks for hanging out, Luke. I'm gonna call it a day for now. And we're gonna pick this up this weekend, so keep an eye out for more updates. I might also release some more GIFs on Giphy as we go through, as I get some shots. We're gonna take a look. All right, let's call the stream over and out. Good night, good luck. I noticed last time, before, like, I remember saying goodbye and good night or something like that. And then I listened back and it was like goodbye and it just cut off. So I think it ends the stream like earlier than when I actually click end the stream. I wonder if that's like a safety thing where you're like, oh shit, I just doxed myself, quick, end the stream. Where it'll actually cut like a little bit forward for you. To show human horror, you should have the fish do the Edward Munch the Scream pose with its fins. Edvard Munch the Scream. I know what you're talking about. I want to see a picture of it to sort of... Because... Where's the eyes in this picture? I see the horror, but it's not... They're very subtle. If I said horror eyes, it's definitely not human. Human horror in their eyes. It's more like scared human, right? but no, not like cheesy scared. Terrified. Eyes. Oh. Human horror in their eyes. It is kind of interesting to see how different artists do it. Because you can kind of get away with different things. These are really funny to me. These are slightly more lines than I really feel like dealing with like Dan and Jordan. I like to just do 1 or 2 lines for maybe the top and sometimes the bottom, only if I need them. But these are pretty interesting too, because these to me cross the line into realism. I mean, besides, I don't know, maybe.